the stories of Zachariah Sitchins and the Annunaki. So you ever had those dreams where you wake up and you're like, "Ooh, that was a crazy dream"?
Yes.
Yes.
Ooh, that was a crazy dream. Dream. It's like, whoa, like gold has a significance, like it has to. And like you hear about those golden cakes that the Egyptians were eating. Created in ancient Sumer. Like in this book I have, it talks about like they had yogurt, they had wine, they had all types of things, you know, that we're just like, oh shoot, we'd be like, I can't believe somebody would have this thousands of years ago. It's like, why not? And like how are we the most civilized humans that we have? And the only thing that we've done ever is like the next case of humans are gonna have the strongest thumbs ever because we're using our thumbs more than anything ever before. So you ever had those dreams where you wake up and you're like, "Ooh, that was a crazy dream"?
Yes. Hey, Fire Tribe. What's happening? It is Romy. Just enjoying another day. Existing. Yet again. Well, we're existing all the time in all the places. So that's pretty cool. Sit back and just try to get some good breaths in, you know, and just realize the multiple timelines that are just constantly evading us all over the place, entering our skin and slipping through our sweet bodies and then sliding out the other side, experiencing many different vortexes along the way. Anywho, today is a great chat. It's a different style than we normally do because we have, well, first of all, it's a duo, which is always fun. So it's a quadrupeded episode with 4 people. I'm being so cryptic today. Anyways, so these are some friends from back in Portland, and Trevor's a really good friend of mine from 6th grade, and Jonny is a friend from within the last decade, but they work together, and my friend Trevor is a music producer, and Jonny's a musician, and they're friends. They work together, and I was talking to Trevor, and was like, you know, hey man, we're doing Sumeria and ancient Egypt next month on the show, and he's just like, you know, Jonny like has some heritage from Egypt and has some like cool stories. And I was like, well, let's line it up, brother. So that's what we did, and that's what this is. And so we talk music, we talk ancient civs, and we talk about Prince for like 20 minutes. I'm not gonna lie, that does happen, but it's all good. Prince was also very cryptic. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for joining us and diving deep into the Egyptian paradigm, the mysteries that be, the Sumerian mysteries. It's all love. It's all light. It's all, well, it's not all light. It is all, though. It is all. Everything is all L. All L. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Enjoy. All
already know.
Hello, Fire Tribe. Welcome to Rising from the Ashes. This is RFTA.
News you can trust.
Yeah.
Angel dies.
Excellent. Today with us, we have Kaylee, and she's going to be talking about some astrology for the upcoming Virgo. So, Kaylee, what you got for us?
Hey, glad to be back. Thanks for inviting
Yeah.
me again.
Yeah, of
This is
course.
exciting.
Every month.
Oh man. Man, where do we begin? Actually, let me start with a question. How was the last full moon and boss battle for you guys? 'Cause
Boss battle.
I feel like, oh yeah, the boss battle. That was the full moon. I feel like that was kind of an intense one, and I only had like, I don't know, 20 minutes to talk about it last time, but I'm interested to hear some feedback. Did you guys go through anything similar to what I talked about, if you remember?
I had a productive day on the full moon, and I used the moon energy to put in a transfer to a new location.
Nice.
Thus has been the boss battle in between, I guess you could say, because nothing is kind of working out the way I was expecting it to. I've been having trouble getting a hold of the other office. So we'll see if that changes. I did get some paperwork today that should hopefully help me get in touch there. But so far it's been hit and miss. So to be continued. But yes, I used the moon. I used the moon energy to try to convey my new projects and my new direction in life.
Awesome. Nicely done.
Golf clap.
Smart man.
Yeah. Well,
Cool.
Terrific job, son.
smart people told me I should.
Nice. Yeah, the unexpected random loopholes and stuff is pretty on par for the astro weather too, so I'm not that surprised, but yeah. Cool. Nice.
What about you, Roman?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
What'd you do besides look through your poo-poo?
That is, first of all, that
was off air.
Out of context. Off air. Now you're bringing it into the air, which is poo-poo in the air, which should be nowhere.
If you smell
especially not the astro weather, but
what
sometimes
the Annunaki is cooking. Yeah.
It's a comet coming at you, but you don't want this shit comet hitting you in the face. So I did utilize the moon as well. And I did because we were working up to do the occult book club on the book of werewolves, and for the homage of the full moon. So I was deep in the shapeshifter realm, and which is something I need to be careful. Everybody should be careful when you are diving into the shapeshifter realm, because even the just the fabric of talking about it can encapsulate into reality. So when we were looking up, when I was when I was digging deep into Aleister Crowley, and then I started having Crowley in my dreams, and he was a shapeshifter, all those things, and so I was definitely having intense dreams coming to the full moon, and I was like, okay, I've been working with some more divination and stuff, ever since I had the experiences with my tuning forks, and I'm leaving the hill of this beautiful quartz mountain in California at the end of the season, so I'm really trying to take advantage of the energies here, so on and so forth, trying to find if there's a bigger reason or a mission as to why I'm in the location that I am, because I think we all are, and I think we need to start looking for those types of things. Anyways, there is this stump above the garden over here, and I took my big copper bowl and I put all my stones in it, and I was like, I'm going to charge my stones, yibbity-doo, and put all them in there, and I lined them up, and then I took 2 beers. I bought a 4-pack of beer nice beer, expensive. It was like $17 for the 4-pack, right? 2 for me, 2 for the land. And so I
Jimmy
swirled my beers around the stump. And I swirled them around. And then I took this chicken carcass that I had from just a rotisserie and I placed it on another stump. And then I swirled around that carrot greens from the tops of some carrots. And I was just like, these are offerings. I was just made up my own ceremony. I was just like, I don't know what a ceremony is, so I'm just gonna put chicken out here and pour some beer around a stump.
That's
and
so
place my
redneck. I
rocks.
love it.
And so, but yeah, I mean, like, and I went out the next day, and I mean, dude, my crystals felt great. And the entire chicken carcass was gone. And like the thing about it is it was like all gone. Like it wasn't like it was like eaten there or anything. It was definitely picked up and brought in somewhere with nothing else on the ground. And I've done tracking. Okay. Worked at a place called Trackers where we taught people how to track animal prints. So like, you know, this was very clearly picked all the way up and brought in somewhere. And so that was cool. Mystery. And then my fucking car blew up. So I have no vehicle. We have no vehicle on the farm right now because before that, my boss had gotten in a wreck in his truck. Then we were driving my car, which we knew was about to go and I need to work on it. By the time I got around to taking it to the mechanic, they were like, yeah, so by the way, you need a whole new engine. And I was like, really? You sure? And they're like, we're surprised it lasted this long. Because every time it would lose power, I would just turn it off and turn it back on and it would just go full gumph again. And I was like, what's up with that? And they're like, it's just pure luck. I'm like, this happened like 50 times. So I was like, it's 50 times of pure luck. That like, and surely enough, like 2 days later, my car died. But what's kind of crazy, since I'm just ranting and sharing stories now, what happened on the full moon is my neighbor. This is California hill life. Okay. So if you guys follow the story of your sweet homie Romy a little bit, you know that like a month ago, my neighbor's house caught on fire, my neighbor to the left. And I posted videos of that in the Telegram and everything. And their house was just completely ablaze, like huge. Like I could see it over the trees, over the canyon into my fucking yard. I was like, fuck. So that happened. But that happened because that neighbor killed this one guy's dog when his dog snuck onto the property. So people think that the other neighbor knew that he was going out of town and he set his house on fire. Okay. That's just some drama, right?
Drama.
Again, this other drama happens right fucking full moon. And it's like this neighbor over here, he's a 60-year-old man. He gets caught sleeping with a 23-year-old lesbian, a Russian lesbian that lives right up the road, and they're selling their property. They brought their alpacas over to this guy's house because they're selling their property. They need a place to put the alpacas. And so his wife came home and I was outside at this point. It was like 11:30, 11:45 at night. I was just outside looking at the stars. And, you know, I just hear, you fucking motherfucking, just yelling. I was like, whoa. And I was like, this might get bad. So I went over to the neighbor's house, just like peeking, just in case like someone were to hit somebody. I'd be like, I'll just pop through the window, like, hey, knock it off.
Kool-Aid man.
You know? Just, whoa, domestic violence. Yeah. Anyways, so that happened, and then he got arrested, and the 23-year-old girl got arrested because when you're in your car and you're drunk, passed out, if the keys are in the ignition, you'll get a Dewey. If they're not in the ignition, you're just sleeping in your car. And so he got a DUI on McNabb Ranch Road, which is never a fucking thing. Cops don't even come up here, you know? Anyway, so all that happened. And then while I'm driving my car, which, yes, was granted, it was on the fritz and on the way out. I shit you not. This is right by where this potential portal opened up with some strange other fucking, you know, spontaneous ceremony that I did that I need to just be careful of fucking doing these things. I pass his truck. And then as the second I pass his truck, my car just fucking shuts off. I got two people in the car. One is visiting from Memphis right now, you know, and we were going to go do a whole day of like, you know, anyways, it was a crazy fuck full moon, supremely full. There's so much goddamn shit going on, Ricky Bobby. I can't even begin to tell you, but I
That's
already
crazy.
have began to tell you. So I'm shutting up now. And please take it away, Kaylee.
I love the juxtaposition between your two stories. Dan's like, I was responsible and did something very responsible and beautiful. And Romy's like, so this fucking crazy shit went down. Oh man, you guys are the best. Okay.
It's a
I
lot
love
like
it.
our real lives. Yeah.
That's good shit. Okay, well, yeah, so Virgo. I'm like, how do I transition from that? Okay, so Virgo season. So Sun moves into tropical Virgo on the 22nd of August, right? Lovely. So let's just like take just a couple minutes to talk about the archetype of Virgo, and then we'll get into some of the specifics of what's going down. So with Virgo, Virgo's ruled by Mercury, right? There's two signs ruled by Mercury, Gemini and Virgo. With Virgo, it's an earth sign. It's considered a mutable sign, which means that it's the transition period between one season and the next, right? We're at the end of summer. Summer for the northern hemisphere, winter for the southern hemisphere. Let's not forget about the Australians. It's important. With Virgo, we have this priestess or virgin or just feminine character, right? And the constellation of Virgo, by the way, is massive. It takes up like a lot of space in the sky. It's huge, but
Huge.
huge, yeah, exactly.
Freaking huge.
So with Virgo, we have themes of service and healing and practice. When it comes to things that are associated with Virgo, like we have the beginning of the harvest season, right? So the image of Virgo herself is this lady standing with a shaft of wheat, right? So symbolizing abundance and just the bringing in of the crops, right? Northern hemisphere centric, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Most people live in the north anyway. To me, I always think of when I'm thinking about Virgo, there are some stereotypes with this archetype of like staying organized, and like some people would even describe it as like almost OCD tendencies to make sure that everything has their place. But I feel like it's really about recognizing the natural rhythms of life and sacred geometry and paying attention to patterns. And when things break from that pattern, the Virgo archetype notices, and then they have to correct it and put it back into the correct pattern, right? So as Mercury moved into her, like, you can't really gender Mercury. It goes both ways, right? When Mercury moved into Virgo, I mean, he does, okay? I mean, he does. So anyway, as Mercury moved into Virgo, I personally really started to organize like my office space and some of my paperwork and stuff. Like, that's a very typical thing for this season, is just like, okay, let's get stuff organized, literally. And it feels good, like, especially for people that have a lot of earth signs, they like that thing. It's like, okay, my physical space is clean and like everything is put away. Now I can go do other things. So anyway, that's kind of like just a brief kind of intro to the energy of Virgo.
Yeah, it's interesting because already I'm starting to like I have this Sunday and Monday off, so I am I'm collecting all my past bills that I have piled up that I need to take care of, and I'm taking care of it on Monday to get it all out of the way. So it's a little bit before Virgo, but still right there, right before
on point.
Mercury hits retrograde and fucks everything up for me.
I'm glad that you are already aware of that. I'm like, yeah, that's coming. I wasn't ready to talk about it yet, but yeah, that's coming.
Man, I need to get this car. Hopefully, I get this car before retrograde too, man. I got my eyes on this fucking cheap ass BMW guy selling it for like $1,000. It's like a little too cheap, but that's because it needs a new rear axle bushel. So yeah, fucking Virgo. I'm curious. I'm curious what's 180 of Virg.
Pisces. Yeah. So that's actually, thank you for bringing that up, because that's an important aspect of any of the signs. Like, really, they say there are 12 signs, but to me there's actually 6 with 2 polarities of each, right? So the Virgo Pisces axis, right? Because they all operate on this axis. The Virgo Pisces axis is about, on Virgo, you have the practical, grounded, ceremonial, feet on the ground side of healing and of being in your body in an embodied experience. And then with Pisces, you have this mystical everything ness. Like, how do you even describe Pisces other than this is
Jesus.
the faith? Yes, exactly. Sure. Yeah. 100%, fish and bread for days. That's the
Wait, fish and bread
spiritual.
though, because Virgo holds the wheat, and then the 180 of
Exactly.
that is the fish. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, nice. I like that you picked up on that. But yeah, so anyway, this is an interesting axis. It has a lot to do with service, and with healing. And with, on the Virgo side of things, you have the natural medicine stuff, right? And on the Pisces side of things, you have the faith-based healing and the spiritual healing and stuff like that. And literally, Pisces can symbolize like hospitals and isolated places, and like taking care of your mental health and your spiritual health. Whereas Virgo, you're literally taking care of the body and the body's health. So I'm glad you brought that up, because actually we will be experiencing Mercury opposing Neptune in Pisces. What day will that be, actually? Well, I think that happened already.
I think it's coming up next week.
I believe so. Right, so right before we actually enter into Virgo season. Fun. So yeah, so anytime you have stuff being triggered on this axis, especially when it has to do with Mercury specifically, with the planet Mercury, we're talking about our mind, information, communication in general, the media. And in Virgo is the cold, hard facts of a situation. Gathering information is Gemini, but sorting truth from falsity, that's Virgo, right? The organization aspect of it is in Virgo, and like, what can you actually back up with something that's substantiated? That's Virgo. And then with Pisces and with Neptune, with that opposition, that whole Pisces Neptune thing is illusion and delusion and like mysticism and all this lovely, beautiful, fluffy stuff, but also like twisting things to no end, right? Especially by Hollywood, for example, because Neptune Pisces, very, very Hollywood with the illusion and the glamour aspect of stuff, right? So propaganda. So right as we're heading into Virgo season, different things are coming out. Like there was a conference, I forget where it was held exactly, but they called it The Pit, and it was by a group called True the Vote, and they're literally looking at information about the elections in the United States in 2020, right? And a bunch of information that was new to people got disseminated, and now it's being filtered out to like the general population. And immediately there's media spin, right? And that is so iconic of this Mercury opposing Neptune kind of thing. There's facts coming out about a situation, and then immediate slandering and lies and twisting of the story, right? Because if you're a fascist, then you can't be telling the truth and no one will listen to you, right? So that's pretty much, that is in a couple of sentences, that opposition. So that'll be an interesting thing that's likely to come up this entire Virgo season. I can't wait. Is trying to separate fact from fiction. What can't you wait for?
I can't wait for newspaper articles to start at some point being like, new organization is breaking down old information. That's so Pisces and Neptune. And like the taglines, and they're just...
I don't think you're going to see that in any regular old newspaper unless we do a newsletter, you know what I mean?
Or like a sitcom that's like, you always have the astrologer homie who just comes in and is just like, hey guys, ready for Mercury retrograde or what? It's a random party or something.
I don't bring that up. Unless people ask, I'm like, We don't need to talk about that. That's funny. Oh man. But anyway, so the new moon for Virgo will be on August 27th. And this will be kind of interesting and a little bit spicy because we have this new moon, right? So a new moon is a conjunction between the sun and the moon. And it is in an exact square to Mars in Gemini. So square is a 90-degree angle. It's a challenging aspect. And to Mars, who is, I'm sure you guys are very well aware, a planet of war. Dun, dun, dun. Right? War, aggression, assertiveness, the energy to cut, right? And that could be good or bad, obviously. So Mars just moved into the sign of Gemini, and it's going to be in Gemini for the next 8 months because it will go to the end, about 25 degrees or so, and then retrograde through Gemini and then go back again. So I was actually doing a little bit of research into the last time we had a Mars retrograde through all of Gemini, and I did make some notes on that we can get to in a little bit, but I want to talk about the new moon first. So anyway, this new moon square Mars in Gemini. With Mars in Gemini, it's very much about, well, I mentioned the difference between Gemini and Virgo earlier, right? Gemini is all about gathering all of the information and learning new things. And then Virgo is about separating fact from fiction, right? So with Mars and Gemini, it's just like gunning towards and gathering as much information as you possibly can. And are either of you familiar with the tarot at all?
A little bit.
Okay.
It's kind of like a carrot, but with a C or with a T instead of a C.
You're fired, Roman.
That stuff. You pull it out of the ground and it gives you an oracle type of message, or.
I mean, that'd be really cool. Root-based divination. That's pretty badass. So anyway, that's the thing.
That's voodoo, legit. Mandrake root.
Yeah. So no, anyway, there's a tarot card that is associated with Mars and Gemini. It's the 9 of Swords. It's very much like the image on the Rider-Waite is this gentleman, I think it's a dude anyway, sitting up in bed, like with his face covered with 9 fucking swords on the back, and it symbolizes this energy of overthinking and just being way too weighed down by all of the different thoughts that are going through his mind, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes it can be like insomnia because you're sitting up thinking about shit that you don't need to be thinking about, right? That's Mars and Gemini in the most negative manifestation. Gemini is this polarity sign, right? It's the twins, right? And it's very typical for Gemini to be like back and forth on different things. With Mars and Gemini, it's adding this flavor of arguing and just being extremely opinionated, right? It's very spicy, extra jalapeno hot sauce. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's exactly it.
I'm a Gemini.
So anyway, yeah, so anyway, with Mars and Gemini squaring the new moon, this is really interesting because we've got this overload of information versus what's actually what can you actually substantiate, what's actually fact, right? Learning all of the truth, but like trying to use your discernment. And with Gemini, we're learning new things, but with Virgo, we're practicing and perfecting something. So we have to balance these two energies out, right? And do our best to stay in our body or reconnect back with our body if we find ourselves getting way too lost in our head and disassociated, essentially. So, yay, fun!
Yeah. Well, that's super interesting because of the project that I'm starting to work on right now. That's what I'm going to be doing is gathering a lot of facts and separating out a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Nice. No, that's perfect actually. And I mean, like, there are a lot of positives to Mars and Gemini too. So I should probably touch on a few of those, right? So with Gemini, since we're talking about like writing, literally it's different forms of communication. Mars brings in this energy to do and to achieve. It can be very competitive, actually, which is great, which is super great. So if you're doing some kind of project where you're gathering information or writing a book or, creating different merchandise related things like advertisements, that's a very Gemini thing. Mars and Gemini can like help you get that shit done. So that's fabulous. I love it. I love it. Picasso. I love it. Let's get it done. Exactly. Get it done. Yeah.
Picasso.
Exactly.
Curious, what's the most like downtime creative, like energetic downtime without like the would it be the winter time or I'm curious. Because I feel like I go through like crazy spurts of creative energy each year. Still haven't nailed down the exact seasons of it, but it's fully a thing.
I mean, like, if you were to not be talking about anybody's chart in particular, because how your individual chart setup is going to change that answer based on how the transits are hitting you. In general, on like a global scale, I would say probably the winter, just because the energy's a little bit more chill. It's a little bit more like the work, quote unquote, is done, at least how it quote unquote should be. You know what I mean? Like
also a lot of
in our society now,
quiet time because you're inside more often, so you're thinking more.
Exactly.
You're sad because it's all like shitty outside or raining or snowing.
So you might as well get creative to do something with it.
Yeah, might as well do something.
Right, 100%. But I think that'll change a little bit depending on how your chart's set up. You know, maybe you're a person with a lot of difficult shit getting hit in your chart during the winter, so it could be good to get creative, but maybe not. Maybe the summertime is better for you. So, yeah, that's an interesting question. And unfortunately, the answer will change depending on the person that you're talking to.
What's Roman's
and if you want
specific creative time? Probably the summer, because he's a sun boy and he likes to go out barefoot and enjoy sun gazing and talking to trees and laying with them and,
bleach my butthole.
Jesus.
Oh, I'm not going to say that.
I make a point to hug a tree every day, even in the winter, Dan.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Good.
Oh, okay.
Fuck yeah.
Take some notes there, bud.
All right. Go hug some trees.
Some tree hugging notes there.
Even in the winter, bud.
Just give him a little kiss now, bud. Just a little smack on the oak tree there, bud.
Oh my god.
Hey, how you doing, Big Redwood? Hey, I love you.
There you go. You know what? That tree would honestly fucking love that. Okay.
Yeah, I think Oh
Roman
man, my buddy
trees,
just sent me
so
really.
I don't know.
No, God.
Do you ask permission first before you get all huggy on them?
Yeah, spiritual psychic permission. The answer is thus within the ethereal waves. So
maybe that's why
don't trip, chocolate tip. Let me tell you the story though. It's a story. Let me tell you about this poem I heard the other day.
Okay.
My buddy sent me this guy doing this poem, and it was like this style where it was really interesting style. I loved it because it was slightly comedic, but it was also very beautiful. And then I'll just have to send it to you guys. But basically, what he was talking about was really interesting. This love.
We lost Roman.
Yeah, I think
we lost him.
Bro. Must have been all that winter talk. See, I told you he's a sun boy.
Apparently. Damn. Well, good times.
Well,
so yeah.
Carry on then.
Information war. Yeah. Good times. Okay, so let's see here. Where was I in my notes? Yeah, I'm trying.
Sad. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh, hey, you're back. All right, cool. Clearly, they don't want you to tell us about the poem.
The strength from trees. Basically, the moral of the story was the trees talked back to this man and told them that they also break too.
Oh,
But to be like grass, to be more malleable like grass as opposed to the trees, and to be able to have the malleability and allow things to step on you but bounce the fuck back.
Interesting.
Whatever. You guys don't get it.
Kind of like the
We
giving
missed
tree.
the first part of that.
Kind of like the giving tree. You know?
Oh, dude, Shel Silverstein, that
Yeah.
inspired this freaking tattoo I have on half of my body, dude. I love Shel.
Yeah, it's a great book. I use that reference a lot. Kaylee, carry on.
Okay,
Please do,
so
Carrie.
so all right, new moon on the 27th. Okay, then the very next day, Venus will oppose Saturn from her place in Leo. All right, while squaring the nodes and Uranus. This is a gnarly. This is called a T square, right? When you have an opposition, which is 180 degrees, and when you have something that is square, so 90 degrees from that point. So it's basically a giant fucking right angle triangle. It's called a T square. It's kind of a gnarly one. With Venus, we're talking about relationships and on a global level, finances, beauty, art. In Leo, especially art. But opposing Saturn always brings some kind of limitation, some kind of obstruction, limitation. And Saturn is also considered like the lord of karma, dun dun dun. But with it being square the nodes, these are also considered a karmic point, the north and the south node of the moon, and then with Uranus there. So basically, it's a big old T square of interestingness, and just unsettled, unstable energy. So, that'll be an interesting new moon where we're trying to get grounded and trying to be in our body and set intentions for Virgo season. And then there's all of this incredible instability. So that'll be an interesting time.
How do we cope?
How do you
how do we
stay
cope
grounded?
with-
Go
how do we
hug
cope?
trees. We were talking about it already.
Hug
Go hug
trees,
some
stay
trees.
grounded.
No.
Talk to
get
rocks.
organized, right?
Don't kick them.
Yeah, rocks are great. Caress the rock, you know what I mean? I mean
Maybe some
No,
time for some good meditation or some other
Yeah.
like sound healing or biofield
or
tuning
some kind of specifically body focused practice.
massage.
So with body work of any kind like that would be great. Massage, qigong, or a yoga practice, or any kind of like stretching, anything basically where you're connecting mind and body. That is very Virgo, right? And that's what I'm going to be doing, and that's what I would recommend for people is do something like that. Whatever practice works best for you. Like if you're into martial arts, go do some martial arts, right? If you like a slower chill flow, do a slower chill flow. The point is to get out of your head and connect with your body, right? And be in the moment. So that's what I would say about that.
2 questions for you.
Okay.
Does Uranus have anything to do with judgment?
What's the second question?
What is other symbolism of Virgo?
Okay.
Like on a physical deity level, because I know that Isis is sometimes veiled as that constellation as well.
Okay, so I'll start with Uranus.
Uranus.
What was your question about Uranus?
Well, I'm just curious because
put a
it just
T-square
when
in
you said it earlier, that's a tuning fork, my brother. That's a dowsing rod, bro. When you were talking about it earlier, or when you said Uranus earlier, just when the way you said it made me think of like Anna. So I was like, it sounds like a judge. I was wondering if it had to do if there's any Astro Theo stories of Uranus being some sort of like judgment character or literally the judge of the court.
Interesting. I would be more likely to assign that to Saturn, based on Saturn being like the lord of karma and stuff like that. But Uranus is typically associated with rebellion and breaking free from Saturnian control. And with Saturn and Uranus in a square for the entirety of this year, that's been a big theme, is us trying to innovate and break away from different levels of control. So it's a different kind of judgment, right? Saturn is like on a mundane global level, you could assign Saturn easily to like world governments, but who watches The Watchmen, right? Who's ever read that comic or seen that movie? Who watches The Watchmen? Who judges the judges? So that's really interesting. Yeah, so that's something that I would think on a little bit more. And as far as like,
it would be the uranium type of character, right? That would like just, because if they're rebelling, that means they're maybe paying attention and then judging the judges who are the.
Yes, basically. Yes, basically. Okay,
talking in circles over here.
Moving on. So, and I mean, with Virgo, because it's this archetype of nowadays, okay, post Christianity, we associate Virgo with the Virgin, all right, but that was not always the case. Virgo is a priestess character, and depending on what culture you were from, the priestesses had different roles, and not all of them were so like virginal, okay? Not all of them were so virginal, so it depends entirely on what culture you're talking about, right? And what time period. But let's see. I mean, you just posted a book that was saying Isis is associated with Virgo, so that's a great place to start. You could definitely associate it with Isis. If I were to, I don't know what the Norse did for their astrology or their constellations, but I would, in my mind, I'm associating it with Freya, right? It's because she's an earth goddess about fertility and magic, very Virgo. And yeah, I think that's a great question to pose to some of your other guests that are more.
Well, some of the one of the things that got brought to my attention was the, she holds the wheat staff, holds the staff of wheat or the ear of corn, and there's some reliefs or depictions of Isis holding the golden phallus of Osiris. And you think of wheat and corn as like a golden seed, right? It's like the seed, and wheat for sure has like a golden hue. And so that kind of was where I went with that. And there's, in that book, what's interesting is I posted that thing that was talking about, they later were alluding to, God damn, I have a dog ear right here. They were alluding to this thing that you were looking for the other day. It was like the type of globe.
Yeah, the Millery.
Yeah, the Millery.
Millery.
It's kind of looks like militia. It looks like
Millery. Oh my god. Our Millery.
Armillery.
Yes, we got it eventually. We can edit that out.
We're gonna have to. Someone mark this down. Goodness. Wow.
We got 10 minutes left.
Oh shit.
We do.
Okay. All right. So
Kaylee, carry on.
Fuck that. Let me keep going. All right. Mars enters shadow on September 3rd. What shadow means is it's the period before the retrograde begins. So there's a degree that Mars will pass on September 3rd. And when he's finished his retrograde, he'll come back to that degree. So that period right there while Mars is going to where he turns retrograde is called the shadow period. The themes that come up on a global level and in your personal lives from September 3rd until Mars hits retrograde, you're going to be going back over and repeating things and looking at them again. It's going to be a theme that'll keep coming up. This is typically what happens for Mercury retrograde as well, but with Mars, it's a longer retrograde period and it only happens every couple of years. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Now, the last couple of times that Mars has gone retrograde in the sign of Gemini, I do want to talk about this real quick. So the last time actually was in 1990. And there was some really interesting things that happened in 1990
Hip-hop.
that are hip hop, totally, 100%. Yeah, well, definitely. So rumors of war were going around for a long time, right? And then Operation Desert Storm began, right after the retrograde began. So literally, this is important because for the United States' chart, right? Every country has a birth chart. For the United States, their first and seventh axis, right? Because we're talking about how everything operates on an axis. The United States' first house is Sagittarius, making Gemini their seventh house. The seventh house is your partnerships and your open enemies. So Mars, the planet of war, moving into the seventh house, retrograding and going back and forth through this house of open enemies, is one of the things of many. There were others, but is one of the things that ended up kicking this off, right? So I looked at a few other times. This doesn't always happen, right? I looked at so that one was 1990. The other time this happened was 1943. So we were already almost finished with a war by the time Mars retrograde happened. So, that didn't really kick off anything in addition to. And then there was one other time before that, but I forgot to write it down in my notes. Sorry about that. But anyway, so that's one thing to keep in mind is things will be heating up around the world. And this is something to just keep in mind. Not like we're not being shown that already that things are escalating, right? But something else also happened in 1990 that specifically has to do with Gemini. And that is that CERN launched the internet and the first website and server during the Mars retrograde in Gemini. Gemini is communication, and Mars, being the ruler of Aries, is about pioneering something and being the first to do something. So this is kind of interesting, this theme of the internet coming up, like literally being launched during this Mercury retrograde in Gemini. So it's kind of interesting. The other thing that happened that was a good thing, I think anyway, I don't know, maybe I need a history lesson on this, but something that happened during the Mars retrograde was two brother countries, East and West Germany, reunited and the wall came down in 1990. So there was a reversal of something. That's
interesting.
Right? There was a division, and then the Mars retrograde, the reversal occurred, and they came back together. So isn't that interesting, right? So I think that we could see a little bit of both, right? Some division, right? I mean, information war is definitely going to happen. We're already in the middle of it. And I don't think things are going to get hot here yet. Question mark? Shrug?
Hey?
But there could also be some people coming back together during the retrograde, which is really an interesting kind of thing to think about. So some things to keep in mind.
And when is that retrograde ending?
Not till next year, my friend. Yep.
What the fuck?
Mars is in Gemini until next year. So do I have the exact dates written down here? Oh, I'm the worst.
Lovely.
Dates written down. Yeah, so Mars retrograde. Damn. I don't have the exact date written down. My apologies. But it'll stay in Gemini until January next year. Yeah. We can edit that out too.
Nice.
You're not gonna, that's okay.
No, I mean.
But anyway, so all of that fun stuff is happening. Yay. Mercury retrograde begins on September 9th, and that will be until October 1st. So Mercury will be going into the sign of Libra, retrograding back into Virgo, and then moving forward again, right? I know you guys you've heard lots about Mercury retrograde. We don't need to go over that right now. September 10th is the full moon. This full moon will be conjunct Neptune. So the last full moon was conjunct Saturn. The one before that was conjunct Pluto. This is 3 full moons with really heavy energy back to back to back. if just putting this out there for you, Romy. If you want to be opening portals, that's the full moon to do it on, okay? Conjunct Neptune, it's about magic, okay? It's
Don't
about
give him
healing.
any ideas.
I know it's dangerous, but
Jesus.
hey, he's going to
Click.
do it anyway, you know what I mean?
We're all going to get sucked into a portal now.
Right into the upside
It's
down.
going to be the Romdella effect.
Third time's a charm, baby.
Oh no. But anyway, yeah, September 10th.
Thanks,
It'll
Kaylee.
be an interesting one. You're welcome.
Hey man, don't shoot the messenger, bro.
Is it, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know all
Whose
about
fault is
that
it
one.
really? Okay.
I'm a Gemini and a delivery driver. I'm like double Gemini.
So what are your other signs, Dan?
Sag and Sag.
Oh God.
I know.
Makes
That's
sense.
what I said.
He's extra saggy today.
Yeah, hey.
It's all about the quest for truth, you know what I mean? Both Gemini and
That's facts.
Sagittarius, right? That's the same axis. That is all about the quest for truth, the ultimate truth.
Mm.
With Gemini, right, you're gathering all of that information. That's really important. And then with Sagittarius is what does it mean?
Mm-hmm. That's what I do. That's what I do
You
here.
know, that is so true. That is so true. One of my best friends is Sagittarius. My oldest friend that I have, and he is just like, he gets down to the dick depth of it, and I'm like, I love him for that, because
not very deep.
when I start thinking
Not
about
very
it,
deep.
you know, there's not a lot of, you know, and when we talk on the phone,
Yeah, elbow deep, dog.
it's ridiculous. Yeah, I'm all whipped to my elbows. Okay. And Kaylee, so what are things you're looking forward to? Are we wrapping up? But yeah, what's something you're looking forward to within this next week, astrologically?
Damn. So actually there's an aspect happening today and tomorrow that I was looking forward to, that I'm really excited about, and that was the Venus Jupiter trine. So that's really beautiful. It's like literally the most beautiful fucking kind of aspect you can possibly get, right? Literally.
Today is August 18th, by the way.
Yep, just so
In case you didn't know.
Yeah,
Well,
so
when we put this out,
yeah.
it won't be
today.
August 18th.
Oh. Okay, I get you now.
Yeah, so sorry
Damn
guys.
you
It's already done.
Truth-seeking Gemini-ness.
Yeah. But something that I am looking forward to for Virgo season in general is just, as far as like specific aspects go, I don't have any favorite aspect going on really for this season. I'm so Saturn about it. I'm like, it's fucking whatever. It's all work, okay? I don't know if you just heard that, but the dog just decided to argue with me. That was weird.
I thought that was my dog.
No, but the husky's right behind me. But I am really looking forward to finally getting some things done that I've felt like have just been hitting roadblock after roadblock. Like Mars finally moving into Gemini on Saturday, so I'm not sure when you guys are going to release this, but when that happens, for me, I feel like that's going to be just being able to finally finish some things that I've been like sitting on and like dragging my feet on a little bit. I'm not going to lie, but yeah, like the carpet in this room needs to be ripped out. There's a bunch of stuff at the farm that needs to be done that we've just been like, it's been too fucking hot to do. Yeah, there's just lots of little things that Gemini's my 6th house of like habits and your work life and health. So I'm looking forward to that boost of Mars energy in my 6th house to like really help motivate me to get some shit squared away and done.
What about?
So
that's awesome. Well, you're gonna fucking rip out that carpet so goddamn hard. It's gonna be great.
I know it's gonna be
really
so
excited
good.
for you.
Thanks.
New phone. Are you doing new carpet or are you doing
No, we have pets, so we're just gonna take the carpet out and just clean it up. And you guys have another interview
Nice.
starting. Nice.
Awesome.
I just hit the invite because I told them 8:00, so I just figured we could wrap up and then we'll carry over.
Word.
So
Yeah.
Awesome.
So final thoughts, Kaylee.
Final thoughts. Stay grounded. Try to disconnect a little bit from media over the next few months because it's going to be wild. Yeah, that's pretty much it, my friends.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much.
Also,
we appreciate it.
Come catch my Monday show, Moon Day Tarot.
Oh, what night?
Yep.
What
Yes,
time? Where's
Moon Day
that at?
Tarot.
It's on YouTube or Odyssey at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, so 6 p.m. if you are in Cali. And yeah, it's a good time. It's usually Rachel and I. Sometimes I bring on a different guest, and I will do a little bit of astrology, a little bit of tarot, and a whole lot of laughter. So it's
Excellent.
a good way to like get ready for your week and laugh about how fucked up everything is.
Oh yeah. Love our Astro News, dude. We need it. Yeah, check out Moon Day Tarot, you guys. It's a great, awesome time. They go through every sign, and they check out the Astro News going on. It's absolutely amazing. And thank you so much, Kaylee.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, Fire Tribe. Don't forget to go join the Telegram group chat. Links will be in the description. And if you want to keep supporting the Fire Tribe, you can go to our Patreon where we put out special episodes. $3 a month, and you guys can vibe out to a bunch more new content. Thank you, and we love you guys so much. Get ready for this episode with Jonny Cool.
Hello, Fire Tribe. Welcome to
Rising.
From the Ashes. I'm the Annunaki Dan.
And I'm the homie Romy. Hello. What is happening with you, sir?
What's good, man?
Well, it's all good. We're in the midst of July, midst of the Egypt and Sumer month, ancient Sumer, ancient Egypt, and we're being joined with a special guest appearance today. Got my good buddy Trevor Ryan Scott that I've known for about almost 20 years now. What's happening, Trevor?
The homie Romy, now the podcast aficionado. We've both had so many cool pathways that we've gone on. It's cool to always continue to cross them with you.
So, dude, it's a pleasure, man. One of the oldest friends in my entire life. He's been a music producer and music production for goodness, how many years you've been doing this trifling event?
Whole life. I mean, I started recording when we were in high school, and I met Jonny about 10 years ago. Opened my first studio about 10 years ago. So.
And then we have the guest of honor, with Jonny Cool. What's happening with you, bro?
Good. Oh man, shoot, everything working and non-stopping. So I'm just happy to be able to join a Egypt Sumer conversation. That's dope. So it's like the books I'm reading right now. So welcome.
Yeah.
Really.
What books you got going on, dude?
Right now I got this Annunaki Chronicles by Zachariah Sitchin's niece. I forget her name, but her last name is Sitchin's too. But it's pretty cool. It kind of sums up a lot of his books and theories, and people who are actually like testing his theories. Just like trying to debunk them.
Mm-hmm.
Really getting down to, because it's not about who's right, but it's about what's really going on. So I think it's real cool.
That's the truth. The truth in this area, especially when it comes to the Zachariah Sitchin paradigm, is there's a lot to be untangled there. I personally haven't read any of the Sitchin books, but Dan is deep in the Sitchin. He's read that fucking almost 15 years ago or something like that, eh?
I got the whole series. Yeah, I've read them all. I don't know about his niece though. I think I heard about her recently, but I didn't realize that she had books or whatever.
Yeah, me neither.
Go check those out.
One that I know of, she it's pretty much Yeah, summing up all his work and the important chapters and paragraphs out of each of those books, and just to kind of like paraphrase his work and just be like, look, this is what he was like talking about. And yeah, it's really cool. It's a good insight, a good reminder too. But also like helps me to like listen to other theories and like not just like go off of one. You know, I think it's real cool that he has these information, but also he don't really know. He wasn't there.
Yeah, exactly. None of us know shit, but we're trying.
Yeah,
Trying
piece,
to paint the picture.
piece by piece.
Experiences that we've all had that, and that, I mean, we don't know what happened before our lives, but we can relate.
It's such a strange like societal conundrum where, you know, who's credible and who's not credible, right? Like it's you know, we have these shared experiences, we have experiences in our life where we're like, okay, this person is credited to relay this information as opposed to this other person who, you know, I don't know, came off the streets and, you know, that granted they read, you know, over 200 books, they don't have a PhD attached to their name, and they're not a credited historian, therefore they have no limelight in the situation, but they might have some sort of family story or some ties that the historian that could only get access through university books, which granted, don't get me wrong, I try to access university books online all the time, and I can't I can't do it. But like for instance, the Sitchin's niece, like hands-on information with Zachariah Sitchin, like that's pretty noble, dude.
Yeah, that's gotta be, you know, inspiring for her just to like talking to somebody, not even just reading about his books, but like him telling her just I don't know how he was able to translate all those ancient texts and just reading hieroglyphics. I'm like, man, like tell me what this says. You know, it's just you just gotta have that direct connection. You know, I think that's real unique. I think that's why the book is really good too.
I mean, they drew what they saw, right? That's what all the hieroglyphics were, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess some of the hieroglyphs are. It's not all like, I guess, from a visual point, but like they would use certain things like reeds and like cats and certain things to tell to write I guess a sentence or to tell a story or to give a message, but maybe I would say like other ancients, like especially like people who are like dwellers and just like sightseers who live in caves and other small little areas like villages like in Peru or something like that. I'm pretty sure they're just drawing whatever they seen like and figuring it out. But as far as like Egypt, I think they're just really it's like the form of their communication, which could be like predated to like Atlantis and like other things like that. Just having that whole nother wave of communication. Yes.
Yeah, I think they're more symbolic, and they meant all kinds of different things
To communicate, you know. And so that's what we're pretty much using. You can express yourself with emojis back
It's easier that way too. I mean, like it's interesting that you brought emojis up because we do find ourselves living in a different age of communication. You know, there has been talk, obviously, and I think people may, even on this chat, may have experienced some sort of telecommunication or telekinetic communication between each other when you have psychic communication between somebody you're close with, when you're living in an environment where you are just connected, etherically connected, and you have psychic moments of communication together. You know, so now we're not necessarily living in a psychic age per se as we may have been in antiquated days, but when you have all these electronics around, and you know, we're electrical bodies, our spirits and our consciousness runs off of, you know, the conduction of the spirit of the earth, you know, so we're connected through that. And then when you add the phones to it, you know, some people are like, oh, it dulls down your aura, you know, and things and your brain waves and so on and so forth. But I think there's something to it that it actually could heighten it in a sense. I think it's just a different type of vibration that was back in the day. Point I'm getting at is the communication between emojis is almost easier to speak than writing out full lengthy text. Like when you look at hieroglyphics, you could have one hieroglyphic or hieroglyph that says an entire scene, you know, or just a couple hieroglyphs to paint an entire scene, as does an emoji, as opposed to, you know, someone sends you multiple paragraphs. You're probably not even going to read that full message. You know, it's so weird, the ages of communication changing throughout the times.
Yeah, for convenience, we're gonna figure out the quickest way to communicate. I think we're gonna, you know, go back to grunting and just sounds, and it's gonna be all expression, like intention and expression. Like that grunt was an angry one, or that was a pleasant grunt, like you know. We're gonna do that. We're gonna be not talking, you know, and maybe I'm not. Don't quote me, but I think we're just gonna get simpler and simpler as far as our communication, because you know, we just want to get the point. We just want to communicate. That's the whole thing. It's like we don't necessarily like, I want to tell you what I want to eat, but I wish I can just point and show you. Versus,
Yeah, it's about the message being sent and received, rather
like hearing me talk and hearing you.
The message.
Hearing you talk, hearing me talk. This is nice.
I mean, that's kind of like what a song does. You know, we send emotions via song.
Let's talk about that maybe before we get into some other books and stuff you're reading on Egypt and some of your theories on that. Let's talk about the music industry side for a bit, because that was the original intent, was to kind of have like a music episode, because I'm obsessed with music. Obviously, you know, everybody should be obsessed with music. It's the resonance of, you know, the spirit. And you know, let's just where can we start? Where can we start on the musical journey? Can you guys just maybe, I don't know, can we start on like do you guys have any paranormal experiences while being on the road? I know you guys have both traveled for music. Are there any fun kind of maybe spooky stories from being on the road?
I've played at all these old buildings, haunted places. I mean, Jonny lived in New York for a while.
Yeah, I lived in New York, and I had a studio downtown Portland called in the Modish building. Turns out it was Prince's old hangout room. And when he would come to Portland, that's where he would hang out in. And it's the same room I had. And I would like talk about like, oh, I'd fall asleep and I'd like have a Prince dream. And I've never had a Prince dream before, but it would be like I'm in some like upscale, gigantic loft kind of like room, and there's like these cool ass pillars, and there's just a bunch of stuff going on, and he's there. I'm just like, another time maybe he like there was music going on behind him, and I'm like, oh, that sounds like a Prince song. But I never put two and two together because I didn't know that was his spot until after the building shut down and all the artists had to move. And as we were moving out, some random lady was in the hallway, like crying and stuff like that. And it was like, "Yo, what's good? Like, you know, if you lost, or if you're in the wrong building, you need to dip because this ain't the crying building. You just walk." But it turns out she was like, "Oh, I'm a good friend of Prince's, and this is our hangout, and we used to just come here and smoke cigarettes and do like small shows and just practice whatever." And then later it was in the newspaper about that building and Prince. I'm like, that's cool. That was like our room. So that was this most, I can't say paranormal, but it definitely felt like Prince's lingering energy was in there. And because I don't sit there and just think about what Prince is doing, I just never do. But
did you, so you didn't know that was his room until after you had moved out, or like on your way out, basically?
I started to put together like, all these random, like, oh, that, you know, all those random Prince dreams that I would have when dozing off there, not like
Trip out, dude. That means his vibe was so strong, his celestial energy was so strong that the residue just stuck and permeated within the
I went
building.
home that night and had a Prince dream. It's like I was usually dozing off in that studio, or just like being there, and it's like 3 in the morning. I'm like, whoa, angel hour, just about to fall asleep, but not.
Was it after Prince passed away
It was.
that you were in that room?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I remember it was 2016 that Prince passed away.
Oh,
I think.
Man, I went through a vinyl stage and I bought a bunch of vinyls. This is my Portland Prince story. I was living in Portland and I needed money to take this girl on this trip. We were going to get on the Bolt bus and go up to Seattle, go up to Vancouver for her birthday. And it was a Tinder date. There's the only Tinder date that I've actually ever successfully went on. And then like we ended up hanging out for like 6 months, even though I had to start every conversation.
A long time.
Incredibly boring. It was insane. Yeah, it was insane. I was really lonely, so I was just like, I gotta keep this boring lady around. But I took her to Seattle and Vancouver for her birthday, and I went and sold a bunch of vinyl, and I sold my Purple Rain record, and I had like a really nice vinyl Purple Rain record. And, you know, I'm sitting on the Bolt bus heading up to Seattle. I'm just like scrolling through Facebook, right? And then I just read like, this is the next fucking day. I just read R.I.P. Prince. And I'm like, damn, that's Prince. No, another one? Damn it, dude. Oh, bro, fucking what? And then I just realized that I had sold my Purple Rain Prince album the day before he passed away.
That's
your fault.
I wasn't thinking about the money, but I was a little bit, because I was like, oh shit, like that's like at least a couple $100 extra bucks like I could have made off of that.
Have you ever broke down Prince's logo? It's a really cool story of how he put it together. It's like a 7, and number 7 is the Ankh. It's like it's a few symbols all together to create his. It's like a lot of numerology and Egyptology into his Prince symbol.
I don't. Yeah. Do you have any more? Do you have any more? Yeah. Do you have any more context on that? I've never actually broke that down at all. I'm curious.
I follow this like I Love Prince page.
Well, while he looks that up, my Prince connection is
the Portland Prince connections.
Aaron, who was an engineer for Prince, who mixed a couple Prince records. I'm trying to look up which ones.
Wait, you made an album with this man?
Yeah, who was a Prince engineer.
For Prince Charles the 13th.
Which Prince tracks he worked on? It might have been some of the remasters in the 90s.
Nice. Tell us a story about him. What was he like? How much cocaine did he like to do?
Prince spent a whole day auditioning saxophone players for a track and didn't like a single one, and then stayed up all night. He left the studio and nobody knew where he went, but he had actually went to a pawn shop, bought a saxophone, and learned to play saxophone overnight. Spent all night in the studio and tracked the solos himself.
Wow.
Dude, Prince was straight on the level though. I mean, I heard the story of how he passed away, and he and correct me if I'm wrong, so I'm just gonna glaze over this if anybody has any finer details. But he was like, I think he was pretty sick, or he had to be in the hospital, and they told him, they were like, okay, you're in dire state. What we need you to do is just stay here and don't do anything. You just stay and relax and chill. And then I think he went out to a party like the day later, the next day, and then I think he passed away in an elevator, which, holy shit. Now, if this is true and it's not some sort of strange record occultic symbolic situation, if he actually died in an elevator, legit, maybe he could, his soul is connected to all these different buildings
throughout all this different timelines that he was there, and now he's just jumping into all these buildings, being here on this plane. Whoa, trip out, dude.
Souls go through an elevator in a building, within a lot of time. Like everybody who goes in the building goes through that little box.
The little box, yeah. Elevators are, they're one of the more haunted things when you go on like haunted tours, hotels, old buildings, like elevators themselves. I mean, so
the Prince track that Dave worked on was "Do Your Dance," the KC's remix.
Yeah, I never heard that one.
I guess. Yeah, I know. That's what
And what's your Prince connection, dude?
I don't have one, man.
You have one story involving Prince. Everybody does. There's one memory of some sort. You were at an establishment and you heard Purple Rain, and then somebody spilt a soda and there was bubbles, and you remember the shape of the bubbles. Something like that. Something crazy.
Wow, you guessed it.
That was it, right? And it was grape soda because it was purple, and that's Prince's color, the color of royal color. Actually,
yeah, I never really gave two shits about Prince, to be honest with you.
I remember you listening to Prince, but you did introduce me to a lot of really cool music. You were one of the first people that I think showed me Bone Thugs and Harmony. Probably a lot of Tupac and Biggie.
I named my dog Busy, my Pomeranian Busy from Busy Bone, because he was my favorite bone. I miss Busy. And then my mom gave him away while I was gone. She gave away my dog, and I was like, "Whoa, Mom, you can't give away someone's dog." She's like, "You weren't here." I was like, "I was at church camp." What we got, Johnny? We got some sigil work here.
Oh, what I was looking for the symbol?
Yeah.
Being slow on my phone.
All I found was Prince died of an accidental overdose of fentanyl.
That's what they all say.
That's classic. Yeah. Oh, I don't even want to go. No, we're not gonna do that. I was gonna say I have so many theories on all these different, because there's that the Forever 27 Club.
The thing is
he wasn't 27 though.
No, I'm just, huh? What do you say?
I said his estate's worth billions of dollars, and like the guy from the Whalers that I played with, he lives in Minneapolis, real close to Paisley Park, and he's always said that anytime you get like billionaire names like that basically whenever they die, that people will fight over the estate forever. Like lawyers will sue each other forever over that kind of thing, and nobody gets anything when that happens.
It's ridiculous. It's a broken system. That's like hearing of a mine, like a mineral mine. They're like, oh yeah, like a treasure map. They're like, if you do this procedure correctly, you can get these, all this money. And then people stab each other in the back. It's a cruel thing. And that's another thing, talking about spiritual residue, money. Like, how does spiritual residue itself stick onto money? Can money be haunted?
I don't know. It doesn't go with you after death.
Them small face hundreds. $100 bills.
Yeah, I don't trust those motherfuckers by any means at all. It's Benjamin Franklin. No way, bro.
Yeah, that's a good question, because I don't know, but money is just like something else. Is just made up to make it feel like we're functioning in a organized way, and it's just not. I mean, the idea of even like credit and other invisible forms of money, it's just kind of, it becomes a big, like a game. It becomes like more of an obvious game, like you're like, okay, we're playing the money game all the time, because down the line, somebody made this up. This isn't born with us like the sun and the trees. Like this isn't like grass and dirt. This is like some guys was like, hey, yeah, this is a good idea. You know,
Think
at some
about
point.
how you have to have a portion of what you own in like liquid money form just so you're able to trade with it. Whereas if we just had a trading system, you'd be able to just have everything and then just trade with whatever you needed, rather than keep like a certain percentage of, you know, everything you own in basically a bank account.
I heard that when you buy property, and I'm not sure if it was at scale or something, but or if you can buy one small acre without doing this, but you had to have a certain amount of silver or gold to transaction with buying a certain amount of physical land.
Well, gold's way cooler than money.
I agree. Well, back to Johnny's point, it's like, yeah, when it's invisible, when it's credit, when it's this thing, it does make it more of like we're a simulated game. It's a when people are like simulation theory, you know, and all that, I'm like, well, yeah, we're living in a fully simulated reality. When you tap into the system, a system is in fact simulated. You know, there's the societal simulation, then there's cosmic simulation, things that are in the natural simulation of the.
I'm not even sure you're the real Roman right now with you on the screen. Prove it, motherfucker.
I can't prove nothing. I can't prove a thing, dude. And that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it. You know, I just got called out yesterday. I was my buddy Juan hit me up. He's like, "You want to do an impromptu podcast like about these strange occultists that we've been looking up?" John D, by the way, crazy son B. And we started talking, and I said something that was a general thing to say that is on this man's Wikipedia page, right? And then somebody blasted me out, and they were like, Roger Bacon didn't invent gunpowder. That was the Chinese. And I was like, he's like, you read it wrong. Like, you need to read better, he told me. And so I copy and pasted just the Wikipedia page. And I was just like, hey, I didn't say he created gunpowder, you know? And so it's like, there we go again. You know, I can't prove anything. Who can, what's this?
Feel about Wikipedia with like talking about a lot of conspiracy stuff like you guys do?
Well,
like,
somebody can create your Wikipedia page and upload whatever they want to.
Right. But I know they check it. Like, I've met somebody who worked at Wikipedia. They're like, yeah, we do all that stuff all the time. And, you know, I just wonder what, you know, when you guys look up stuff.
It's the quickest way people fact check you on shit. Like, if someone's looking up something really fast and they type it into Google, then they click on Wikipedia and they look on the Wikipedia page really quick just to screenshot it and send it to somebody. Grant, we've all done that. We have all done that. We've all been culprit of the wiki. And you know what? I think they're probably, I don't know anything about the organization itself. Just like when you start to go deep enough into, you know, like the Macintosh story, and you start to look at who started that company, right? Or Apple or Google, and you get up far enough up the chain and you're like, oh, you start to see like, okay, these guys are, I see they're, you know, they might be initiated or something. So Wikipedia being what it is, I don't know the history of it, but you know, it's just like we were talking earlier, people care about the communication. They want to be heard in some way. And it's just one of those mini buffers that it's a tool that people can use to be heard almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's a database, you know.
Yeah.
It's cool how fluid it is. You know, because information gets on there fast. You know, you can find really new, up-to-date information on there, surprisingly.
Yeah, it's like a website without being an official website. It's like an unofficial website, kind of like how people use, not quite like an Instagram, because you're not like controlling your own Wikipedia page and uploading new pictures all the time. But yeah, somebody can get all your links, your bio, your whole catalog or discography, whatever you're doing, they can just look at it real quick right there. Like you said, they're just like, oh, screenshot. That's his birthday. When was he born? Or like, how many, is he married or whatever. It's just right there. So you're just like, this is information that's not on his Instagram or her website or them or their
And
LinkedIn.
who put it there? You know, who makes? Because I doubt that every celebrity makes it, or they're even just like when you have an author, like who makes their own Wikipedia page, and it's weird. Dan, what's your wiki? How often do you use wiki?
I don't know.
You be using it on the
I have no
daily.
idea.
Yeah, you do.
I mean, I use it a lot to look up like Egyptian gods or Sumerian gods or Greek gods and stuff like that to get like a little background information. That's usually what I mostly use it for.
Yeah, they
or looking up people, I guess.
Yeah. But we never check the sources. Have you ever like gone to the very bottom to the references?
No.
I do.
I've like never done that on Wikipedia.
For, like researching like music industry people. Like sometimes I'll wonder like, oh, I wonder who mixed this song, and sometimes on Wikipedia it'll have some information about like a producer engineer of a track. I'll be like, oh, I love the way this sounds. I wonder who did this. If it's if it's the latest Timbaland beat, or if it's like a new guy or something like that.
Aren't there like just a massive amount of like Timbaland's like a pretty big producer, but when it comes to producers, right? Like maybe you can clarify for us dummies over here, not in the industry, that like what is an actual like producer, and how often are you not hearing these people names that are making some of the more popular songs out there?
Well, now it's really cool that, I mean, say what you want about Spotify, but they do list the producers and songwriters, as if, before that it was, what was on a record, but I think, I mean, we a lot of people know producers and beat makers nowadays, but a lot of people don't also. It depends.
You'll be surprised sometimes, like the name that you'll see in the credits, you're like, oh, my favorite producer, that's actually his real name, like his birth name or something like that, and you just don't. It's a name that you might see often. I remember looking at CDs and just the books and figuring out like who did what, like on certain Kanye West records, it'd be like Jonathan Smith or something like that, and that's like John Legend or something like that. And you're just like, oh, I didn't know, like John Stevens or. Yeah,
they did that one little thing on the track, like one of the 6 people on the track on like one of the tracks on the album.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a good one for you, which I do like Doja Cat and Kesha, but Kesha's producer, Dr. Luke, was a bit controversial, and he's listed as a songwriter on a few of the Doja Cat new songs, and he was kind of like canceled as Dr. Luke, but his real name is like Lucas something, and they kind of like quietly just like put him on there.
Yeah, dude, there's such a I mean, you guys are, can I call you guys music nerds? Like, you guys are deep music nerds. Like, you guys would be able to go so deep on some shit that nobody else would know anything about.
Cool, but as a songwriter, he's listed as Jonathan Sanders. So, that's something that we're trying to like make sure those two are connected. So when people see that, a Jonathan Sanders songwriter, that they know that that's Jonny Cool.
Yeah, it's like it's a game, dude, right? Like, I love it, man. I love the game of life, because you do get to play, and when you start to mix it with the internet and just, you could do it in a small local town, but when you add the internet and you start to add like, having these different entities that you label yourself as, it's like, now you're really playing the game. You're like, I got multiple faces, I got multiple characters in the game, baby. What you got?
I mean, I remember when somebody told me that my band wasn't a band unless we had a Facebook page. And I was like, we're these people that are like playing. You see videos of us on YouTube, but we were like, it was like an underground thing at the time, years. This was like 10 years ago. And And I realized that she was pretty much right, though, in today's, by today's standards, if we didn't establish ourselves as on a Facebook page and all the different platforms like that.
Yeah, now it's Instagram though, for sure, because ain't nobody up on the FB.
And soon TikTok. Everybody's like,
is that a thing? I don't know. TikTok scares me. There's been a lot of strange, like the Wizard of Oz TikTok character that was like from the early 1900s. I'm like, where is this TikTok coming from? Is it some strange egregorical entity?
15-second songs for TikTok.
Nice.
Hell no, I'm joking. Fuck that.
Yeah,
just kidding.
I think with TikTok, it's like, I think it's just like a new, like anything, it's like a craze. And between TikTok and Instagram, they're gonna copy each other until they have everybody's information. I mean, not information like they need you, but until they got you using their app daily, that's all they want.
Oh, okay. All right. So just more simulated situations here within the game of reality. So for a podcast, you can have your entire podcast transcribed, right? You can have it, if you opt in on it, they can just get each word and they could type it out to you as a transcript. And you're like, sweet, every word that was said on the podcast can be, we can have it in physical form. And now we're finding ourselves in the AI art. So you can type in, 10 different words, get a AI generated image. You can put someone else's face to an AI thing and have that face, this computer generated image, look like it's talking. So you could basically this transference of all this information of how we're like our podcast alone, we have done about 120 hours of speaking text. Okay, then you times that by all of the podcasts. That's so many scripts. So what I'm getting at is we're going to find ourselves in an age not very far from now where they're going to have AI generated beat with an AI vocalist and AI generated podcast, even potentially in story making through algorithms.
I don't want to listen to a robot's podcast.
You may never know that it would I mean,
I was questioning if you were really Roman right now. Prove it.
World.
Can a robot do this though? Give me your information.
Roman, you need to do a capture.
Know how to use them. That's the clue.
Yeah, you're right. It's the inevitability.
I asked Siri to like set a timer for me, and she's all like, "Okay, yeah." And I said, "Thank you, Siri." And you know what she said? "My pleasure." I'm like, "Get the out of here! What the hell do you know about pleasure? That's a human thing. Like pleasure is feeling. You don't feel nothing. You're Siri. So how dare you even be programmed to lie to me?" That's when I was just like, you know what? maybe it is. Maybe it does feel something, but I'm just like, that's stupid.
Somebody the other day told me they felt bad about making their computer work all day. I said, I make my computer work for a week straight. I don't give a fuck.
Right.
And that thing better keep going. Don't stop.
Right. What do they do?
Well, that's the classic. Like you'll see that in a lot of AI or sci-fi movies where it's the computer that eventually starts to gain emotion because it's being treated like a computer. It's like you're treating me like I'm a robot or something, like I'm insignificant. Like you can work me like this, and then the computer ends up taking over. And there's been a little too many movies about computers taking over. Like when you start to look at like for instance, my friend sent me, being in this podcast realm, sometimes labeled some sort of conspiracy situation. I don't label us as that. I don't, but it just happens, right?
I was just saying.
Oh no, you're good. Because
non-mainstream mainstream news. It's just not mainstream news. So
There's so much information, bro. I mean,
Network.
right.
I completely fucking forgot what I was getting at, but it was really great. It was a great story, and it would have blown everybody's mind, but I absolutely forgot it. So my mind is somewhere blown now. But hey, let's direct back into what we do really like to generally talk about here is ancient history. And Jonny, do you want to maybe like point us in a direction you'd like to tell us about your experience with studying ancient Egypt?
Yeah. So my dad's family, they're down the line. They're from Alexandria, Egypt, which is the furthest place that we know that where we stayed. And I'm talking about like a long time ago, ancient Alexandria, because they were from a small little tribe called Stargazer. And back when Alexandria was known as like the city of stargazers, like my dad's family, I don't know how many of them were out there, but they're like either I know my dad's family were most likely musicians, but there was like scientists, mathematicians, all these philosophers studying like the tilts of the world and the sun. Um, but my dad always said that our family kept into like astrology and music. My dad's mom is the main one that like would always bring up ancient Egypt at the table because like my mom, my mom's side of the family became really religious. So like anything about Egypt or that wasn't in like the Bible, she wasn't trying to hear it. So my dad wasn't big on the Bible either. So when he was around, he would talk to me about like, yo, son, the Bible doesn't mention pyramids, but those were there and those were real, and those are a mystery. And so when my dad's mom would come around, Grandma Sanders, she would always say like, she had like charm school etiquette, so she'd always make us set the table like freaking Princess Diana was gonna be there, like sit up straight, chew like this. We just had all this etiquette, but it wasn't because she was just like, this is what I want my grandchildren to be like. She grew up like that in hopes to be like end up marrying, being prepared to marry somebody royal. You just back then you probably raised your daughter or son to sit at the royal table. But my grandma would always say, you come from an royal Egyptian family. Like there's so many things that you need to know how to do. And as far as like keeping yourself together and like it's like look at your back, it looks like a question mark and stuff like that, like sit up straight. But she would always mention like uh the first moment the sun hits your face, embrace it because that's raw. And I'm like 4 or 5 and she's telling me and my sister and my brothers this, and she'd be like, this is raw. And my grandma, I think she lived to be about 88, 80, 87, 88. And so she was here a long time, and she just, always kept that in my ear. So, and besides having like these reoccurring Egypt dreams when I was a kid, always about this crazy sky or the stars doing something or being in Egypt. I just remember like one time I had this dream I couldn't get out of, and this like laying on this table in this like room, and there's this old priest looking guy. He's like praying over me or something like that. I was just like, whoa. I was telling my mom, like, it was pretty scary. But nowadays I just be more curious of what that dream was about. Like, why did I have it a bunch of times as a kid? But something about Egypt always stuck in my mind besides having family from there. And I didn't want to be like my mainstream friends who just be like, yeah, we're all come from Egypt and we're all kings and we're all children of pharaohs. And it's like, I don't think everybody was. And I don't think everybody, like, I think, obviously Egypt was a place like a mystery school. It was like it's like a school, like to learn so much. And it wasn't like forbidden information. It just took a lot. And a lot of people, it's like anybody, not everybody's going to get it. And it's not to say that everybody knew the secrets of the pyramids or the stories of Thoth and his starships under the earth or, the halls of Amenti. It's just you're not going to go that deep if you don't want to. You can stay as layered as like, the pharaohs and the dynasties and the laws of Kemet, things like that, and that's cool. But to really know like where Egyptians were getting their information from and what they were trying to do with it, it wasn't just like, yeah, to mummify yourself. It's like to know about the afterlife and to know how to transfer yourself into the future, to know how to keep your lineage and all these types of things that this is interests me. So I just kind of stuck with it and went hard um and reading. Like I remember like 2012 meeting a Native American elder. He became my mentor in Blackhawk. He back in the stars, but he was just telling me more about my Egyptian lineage than I ever knew, just because he's like a face reader. He like could look at you and be like, I know your ancestors. I know where you're from. I know this side of your family.
Wow.
And things about like,
Wow.
he'll tell me certain things about like being a stargazer. He's like, you're not using your eyes right. You need to learn how to defocalize and let your eyes rest so you can see, not look, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
You're not looking, but you're seeing. And he's like, that's one of your gifts, is like you're able to see a lot more than you can and look and see. So I practice like a lot of eye work and dream interpretation with him, and he'd always have something like, he was really witty. He wasn't like everything was like riddly for him. He'd just be like, like, I'm calling you the Prince of Egypt for a reason. I'm like, well, what's the reason? He's like, you'll probably find out in 8 years. I'm like, well, okay, that's cool.
Hmm.
I'm like, and that
What
is
year was that?
2012. Yeah, so maybe I did it in 8 years. I mean, that's 2020.
Yeah, dude. Hey, boom. He said the Egypt will rise again in 2020 when the shit hits the fucking fan.
And they need their. But yeah, it's just so much that we would talk about, especially through dreams. I would tell him like the most puzzling parts of my dreams as a child, and thinking back to what certain things meant. And he did. He actually made, help me to spark more curiosity to like not just learn from him, but know that the indigenous Native Americans have a lot of information about Egyptians. And because going all the way back, they also worship Amun Ra as well. Like the headdresses they wear with the feathers is the same bird type deity that they saw in Isis, and so they all went around worshiping the sun, and it all evolved around the sun. And so being both sides of the family, like my mom's fully Native American and my dad being Egyptian, it's like I'm just gonna go ahead and straight up be an old school sun worshiper and figure out why, in my own way. So it's been a cool journey, and always still learning. And like I like what you guys are saying about reading up on Sumerian gods, ancient Sumer, and even like the stories of Zachariah Sitchins and the Annunaki, because they all had something in common, that they all stopped in Egypt. Even the stories of the Christ, even the stories of the most wisest people had to stop through Egypt at some point. And it's a school there. It's a mystery school where people are learning things, and you just gotta really have the willpower to learn, because closed mind, you ain't gonna learn nothing that you can use.
What about are there any family stories about the energy of the land? Like, they're definitely the mystery school vibe, this kind of connected vibe that people feel, like having Egyptian dreams of pyramids, and it's like it's in our collective consciousness. And I'm curious about, it's on a sacred site, the 33rd parallel, and I'm wondering about your opinion on the energy of the land, like the magnetic energy.
I feel like the pyramids, I mean, a theory of my own, I don't think I've ever heard this out loud, but it's like a earth battery. It's like a a charge pack for Earth, and the closer you are to it, and the closer you know how to like allow your energy to connect with it, is how, because when you have those the connection of like what the pyramids are made of, even like if you, I don't know if you've ever heard like people who have greenhouses and they build them in the pyramids, and vegetables and everything grow like 5 times quicker and healthier, and they're just like the best vegetables you can eat. It's like there's something about that shape. There's something about where they are and their energy points of the earth that amplifies this energy. And maybe we haven't experienced the alignment yet, or maybe we haven't experienced the timing, but I think they're obviously there for a reason, and it's not for us to be like, oh, these old things, and if they are, they've probably been used up like batteries can blow out. You know, you think about the copper, you think about the crystals around, you think about the granite, all the materials around.
The capstone just being, you know, where the Ben stones at. You know, like you gotta have a hot wire, you gotta have a ground wire, you gotta have the mercurial solution or the electrolytic solution for the battery. You know, but it can always be turned back on. It just has to get recharged. But you're right. Like, yeah, there's definitely some sort of Dan's got a similar kind of idea on the pyramids that he's brought up before with the acupuncture situation.
What you talking about, Dan?
Yeah, we're talking about Dan.
Yeah, what you talking about? I just think that, you know, that a lot of these pyramids and stuff they're putting, they're always on like ley line connection points, and they're even called like dragon lines, and we have the same type of lines in our body called dragon lines. And when I had to start going to acupuncture a couple years ago because I got Bell's palsy, and it's just so weird. Like, and when he's putting the needles in me, it gave me like a very euphoric feeling, and so I just kind of had like that, is because everything is as above, so below, right? So like the fact that these pyramids are in these like pressure point type areas, you know, where these ley lines connect with each other, it's almost like it's defusing or like letting the world relax, so it maybe doesn't have catastrophes as much or as many anymore, because it seemed like cataclysms were a big thing back then, and they were always like scared of them and trying to prepare for them. And so I think that maybe they're trying to build these all over the planet to kind of bring the earth to more of like a peaceful rest.
That's cool theory. I can't even say that you far from nothing, because to have the pyramids that they have like in the bottom of the ocean in Japan and like all around the world, there's a form of pyramid. There was even, did you hear, I know it's a theory, but there was one, they said it was like kind of destroyed, that was in the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, there's some talk of the Grand Canyon having like hieroglyphs down there and like a couple Egyptian statues. Yeah, trip the fuck out, man. Like we definitely have gone down the rabbit hole in the show of like there's a lot of Egyptian revivalry in middle America, right? And especially once you get down to the energetic hub of Tennessee, Memphis, Tennessee, and it's like the Mississippi River would be the Nile, and like you said, the indigenous culture here are the mound builders, and the mounds are holding this type of like sacred energy as well. And it's almost like you could superimpose the European, Asian, Russia continents over here, and then Egypt would be like right there in the middle, where they have that you know, the hub of Memphis and such. And it's fucking trip. It is such a trip. And God, we're living in a simulation. I know it.
Yeah, I mean, I love the, even like the how Egypt has a lot to do with like it goes to Atlantis. I'm pretty sure living in probably somebody growing up in Egypt, you hear about Atlantis was like ancient Egypt. You hear about ancient Atlantis like how we're hearing about ancient Egypt. You know, you hear about a civilization that doesn't exist anymore, but that had like, supreme advanced information about how to thrive here and how to do other than the normal human activity. You know, like they maximize in their strength, their height, their structures. I mean, if they're innovating these things, and I'm talking about like not just Egyptians, but there's a lot that was created in ancient Sumer. Like in this book, I have it talks about like they had yogurt, they had wine, they had all types of things. You know that we're just like, oh shoot, we'd be like, I can't believe somebody would have this thousands of years ago. It's like, why not? And like how are we the most civilized uh, humans that we have? And the only thing that we've done ever is like the next case of humans are gonna have the strongest thumbs ever because we're using our thumbs more than anything ever before. Our thumbs ain't never been this buff. So I think that's the only thing we've only been ever doing besides as a human is like nothing new under the sun. Like you know, space exploration that's old. Ocean exploration that's old. We haven't even gone anywhere that we've never been before yet. And if so, it's from some old Mr. Burns money having fool that ain't telling nobody nothing.
Yeah, just keeping all the info for himself.
Yeah,
It's like, yeah, we've been on Mars for about 20 years, but you ain't never heard about it because we're rich as fuck.
That's all.
I think it's interesting that you said that your father is it your father and your mom were one was Native American and one was Egyptian from Alexandria.
Yeah.
So we talk we talk a lot on the show. Oh shit, sorry.
Let it out. Yeah, just get it gone. Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
I was coughing earlier. Yeah, right.
it's good for you.
We talk a lot on the show kind of about diffusionism, which is like Atlantis being in the Atlantic and maybe before it went under, that the people on that island or continent or whatever went two different directions. And one group went over to Egypt and one went over to America. And so, America, because they have the Ohio Valley civilization, that and some of the mounds there date back to around 3100 BC, and then we also have the pyramids that they say go back to a little bit before 2500, so like 2700 BC for the pyramids. That's the mainstream dating. So it's pretty interesting. Is when you talk to your mother and father, when they talk to each other, do they notice a lot of similarities in their culture, and what kind of similarities do they talk about and stuff like that?
Well, my mom's back in the stars, but like I remember my mom back in the day, she would, I mean, I can't say way back in the day, but like maybe the last few years of her life when her and I would hang out, and I would always just be expressing to her my dreams because I'm like, she's the first person I see when I wake up, or I was like, Mom, I had another I've been telling you about my dreams since I was a little baby, so I might as well keep telling you now. So I would tell her like, oh, I had another dream, but this time like I heard this music and I remember it, and I hummed it into the phone, so I got it. I got a dream from this a song from the dream, you know, and she'd be like, you sound just like your dad when he would talk to me about the dreams he would have. And
Wow.
I think the strangest connection, not this isn't quite to answer your question, but like one time my dad came up to visit because my uncle Johnny passed away, and my mom just had us over for dinner. And as like my dad's crashing at my apartment at the time, and so we're headed back to the car. And my mom walks us to the car, but she's like, "Hey, Stargazer," and that's a nickname I thought I made up out of nowhere because I'm like, you know, I'm starting to do music production. This is like maybe like my third year in or something like that into music. And so I made up the cool nickname Stargazer. It was like my alias. I had no idea, no connection. I haven't even Googled what Stargazer meant, you know? And I turn around like, oh, what? And she goes, no, not you, your dad. Like we always called him. But my dad, he told me, he goes, well, I only go by Stargazer because that's what we were called, you know, and that was the thing. And I swear I thought I made that up, you know. And that was just a cool connection. But my mom and dad would have like interesting conversations I can tell like about certain things. My dad was a hippie jazz funk musician. So he's been on tour since he was 14. So he was all about like acid and trippy visions and whatever he can do. And that's how and that's around the time I came about was during his hippie time too. So in the early 80s or 80s, but whatever. But yeah, he always had Egyptian artifacts around his house when I went to visit, and just little statues and little unks. My mom became really religious, but like my mom's brother, my uncle Kenny, and my late aunt Helen were the only ones that I knew that like actually like went to the reservation and actually like hung out with tribes and things like that. So because my uncle Larry, my mom's oldest brother, became like the warlord of religion in the house.
Oof.
All my other uncles and my cousins, everybody on my mom's side, like I said, they became very strict Christians, and so and that's only because my uncle Larry. So, and I used to always tell my uncle Larry, like not always, but I think the last 3 times I talked to him was like, "Hey, remember, you are an indigenous person. You're Native American." And Christianity is not your thing. You're just not wearing it right. You're not. It don't look good on you. You know, it don't look good on you, bro. Like,
Is he on your mom's side?
yeah, he's on my mom's side, and funny too is like my dad's sister, my aunt Louise, became very religious as well. She became like a Baptist. Like she like owns a church in Texas, and she's all like Holy Ghost and shaking and dancing and singing like at the top of the very most churchy you can get. The most, you know, even when she's at our house and she's like, okay, let's pray before we eat. It'd be the most dramatic prayer ever. It'd be like, whoa, she's really calling God down before we eat. Like
See, man, you know what? Were they this type of Christian where they don't want to look deeper into history? Because I feel like if you're like a real like Christian, you should want to know the biblical times left and right. And then you should be able to cross reference even some ancient Egypt, you know? Like if you were thinking about your true Christian roots, why would that scare you?
and I love my Uncle Larry and my mom's side of the family, but they was brainwashed, you know. They ain't gonna go no other way. My Uncle Larry to the you know, some people are just gonna go they gonna die in the trap, you know, that's just how they gonna go. They're gonna have to leave Earth and come back on a whole nother situation to understand it. But because obviously he made a decision that he's never gonna hear nothing else. And to them, they're waiting for the end of the world to happen. And I've been telling them like it's after the end of the world. Like we're rebuilding right now, and anything stupid ain't gonna stick around. This is just the weakest part that we live in right now. This is the weakest era. It's the hardest era, but
Mm-hmm.
we're something really dope. But you can't hold on to some stupid shit and think you're gonna take it with you. You just can't, you know. So I stopped actually like being associated with them fully like when I was like maybe like 18, 19. So when I just decided to not go to any churches or anything like that ever anymore. So I would go to visit with my mom, but deep down inside, like I wanted tattoos and I was ready to do everything else, you know, and live on the wild side, like as
Yes.
far as thinking, just free my mind, you know. So, but yeah, my dad still has family who are very like digging up information about our Egyptian roots. We actually found out this this ruler we're actually tied to. She's a female ruler, and I have to look at my sister's notes because she just told me who she was.
How many siblings you got?
I had 2 brothers and 2 sisters. I'm the youngest of 5.
Nice.
And
Capstone.
Hatshepsut.
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say Hatshepsut.
Well, that's your metacognition. But this is my relative. This down the line. She was a ruler. One of the first female rulers. She ruled for 12 years. I think more than 12 years.
Where
But she in Egypt.
Wow.
She was a female pharaoh. And I heard that she has her own like temple. So I'm like, I think I would have the rights to that because I mean, I need to go there and show.
Huh. Well, we're trying to get a little group going out to Egypt 2023. Let's go.
I activate some chunk of rock. So I go out there and supposed to turn on something and then leave. But that's what I'm told. Hey, go to Egypt because it's all about DNA activation out there. It's not about like what you can touch and dig up. You can dig up the perfect thing, but you don't know how to. It's not in you to do it. And even if me 3 years ago wouldn't be ready to do what I'm about to do, because I have to continue to activate until that time. Because it's like I have to keep unweaving a bunch of old ass DNA to just really get there. And I feel like I'm getting a lot closer because it's just easier to see.
Hatshepsut was the daughter of Tutmos the First.
Yep. That's our. And I want to show you a picture of my dad eventually. And show you his old. He don't look like a mummy because that's like a dead person. He definitely has a tut. He has a tut face. And my grandpa Sanders, all the way down the line, it's like some people just know. Like I don't know. You can look and see that somebody's from like Congo, or I can tell like sometimes like a Nigerian brother, but because of like their face shape, or somebody from like West Africa. But looking at like my dad and his relatives are just like obviously like, oh, you guys look like somebody from Egypt. Just do.
Well, back to what Dan was saying earlier, it's like it is really interesting about your mom coming from the Native American side and then your dad from the Egypt side, and if that when the sinking happened or when the Great Deluge happened and you split up in 2 different ways, you have pyramid building cultures in South America. Like the most of them that we have on land in the world is in South America, as opposed to Egypt. But then, both these cultures in the same place. And it's like if you tie those 2 together, that's ultimate Atlantean bloodline. you got the ultimate Atlantean bloodline, like legit.
I'll tell you one thing I had a dream. So this is that I had about this. And this dream took place in 2014 or so. And so if you look at my profile, I wear like a space helmet sometimes. I have like a Daft Punk looking one. I have like this like Star Wars looking one. And that's just because those are the only helmets I can get a hold of right now. I really want a cool one, a unique one. But in this dream, there's like this scroll looking paper, very very natural colored, and on it had all these like old ancient sketches of helmets going down the line, old space helmets, but sketches, and like they look like not, I don't know, they just look thousands of years old. Like this isn't anybody's modern drawing of a helmet, but there's several helmets going down, and you can hear these voices telling me that, oh, your father is this, and your mother is this, and you're of this ancient DNA that hasn't probably been here for a long time, and somehow it's connected to like some kind of bird people, and they're like, you're like a bird, you're a bird person. And then I heard this like really cool chant that's very P-funkish in my dream.
Nice.
Guy doing like kind of guiding an audience, and this is all in the same dream. It's like this big thread of occurrences. But I just woke up saying like, that was interesting how my dream, I mean, obviously it's my dream, so they knew that about my two sides of the family, but I don't speak it enough. I'm not going around there telling everybody, "Hi, my name is Johnny. I'm Egyptian and Native American and indigenous." But it was just a bizarre dream that made that connection, that it was like a very ancient blend. And I thought that was cool because 2014, I was just about 28 and then kind of felt like I wasn't getting any new information about myself, discovery. So that was kind of hip.
That's cool. Dan, you gonna say something?
Oh man, I'm reading about Hatshepsut, and one of the cool things that it says in here is Hatshepsut dressed as a king, even wearing a false beard. She began having herself depicted in traditional kings' shindate, SHENDYT, traditional king's shindate kilt and crown, along with a fake beard and male body, as a way of asserting her authority. I just thought that was interesting because the kilt thing.
Rocking a kilt and fake beard, going around and
that kind of goes into the whole like Scotia thing, being the Egyptian pharaoh's daughter, and her leaving Egypt and going to Scotland and then becoming Scotia land, and that's why it was called Scotland.
Oh, that's right. We were talking.
If they wore kilts in Egypt, and then now they wore kilts in Scotland, it's kind of an interesting thing. I didn't ever think about that before.
No, Scotland was connected to Egypt like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just talking to Daniel Creighton. Scott Creighton, sorry, yeah, Scott Creighton, which is funny because he's from Scotland. He's Scottish. His name's Scott Creighton, and he's written a few books on Egypt, and he wrote this one called The Void Enigma, which is a new empty space that they found that's as big as the Great Hall, the Great Chamber, in the Great Pyramid. And so his book's about that. It's really great. And yeah, we asked him about like connection because, their civilization likely spread from Egypt, right? Like there was one of the hubs of civilization, dating back all the way to Sumer in Egypt, right? And so from there's spread out, and there's this, mystic, ancient religions of Scotland and Ireland and the northern regions, and there's like this big connection between, this cross connection between Scotland, the Norse, and Ireland with the Druids and everything with ancient Egypt. And it's so esoteric because it's so hard to find any like just really awesome in your face information about it. So that's kind of one of the threads that we're pulling on in the show throughout, like just have a different guest on and stuff. And it's always synchronicities.
My mom did my ancestry a long time ago, and she gave me this big old chart of all the people that I connect to. And I was just going through them and seeing what significance they have, and one of them, his name is Kenneth MacAlpin, the King of Scots. And I was reading about him, and he actually went, I think, down to Egypt, or received from Egypt the Tara stone, which is supposedly the same thing as Jacob's pillow, the rock that Jacob had the dream on and saw the stairway to heaven. And so it's very interesting because that's the rock that's like underneath the seat where they crown kings and stuff.
Wow.
A lot of dream talk here.
So it has another, Scotland Egypt connection.
Yeah. Inevitably so. I can't wait to pull on that thread more. Hopefully we can get Scott. He said he was down to come back on and talk about that too, right?
Egyptian.
Boom.
Yeah, dude.
Boom. Hey, but back to your dream though, with the helmets. Maybe we can like talk about some other like visions or dreams that you've had, because It's interesting. Like, do you think the helmets are for how deep are you on the space travel? Like, what's your conception of what the planetary system is, like the cosmology? You know, we're not flat earthers around here by any means, but we also don't trust NASA. But it's really one of the only resources we have, you know, for space stuff. And yeah, like, what's your belief on cosmology?
I dig it because, like, well, my belief is like you were saying, like I'm not a flat earther, and but I also understand that when we say that we live on something spheric, we're not like walking on a ball. We're not like we're all
Yes.
walking on this round thing, and somehow some of us are inside of it, and some of us are just walking on a layer of it. Because, like I always say, the analogy of like you can blow a bubble through a wand that's shaped like a pyramid or a triangle, and it's going to come out into a circle. That's because
Mm,
Hmm.
rounds is doing like this. It's like molding. It's like how your hands make a Play-Doh ball. That's what the energies around us is doing. So imagine what it's doing to our gases and our chemicals around Earth. It's giving us a spheric shape. Like
yeah,
anything, like
Hmm.
the
yeah.
moon, like the sun, anything that has gases around it is going to give it a spheric because energies are always moving to and fro like this. So there's no way that we're going to be like just a chunk of Earth living here without a spheric situation, but we are on it. But like I feel like when they say, well, what's the idea of the tilt? Like if you're going to go around the world, or if you're going to walk around, or if you're going to go to the other side, it's just like it just never stops. It's like we are on a some form of a ball, but like just like Jupiter, its gases make its size more immense. Like Jupiter is not the same. Jupiter's land isn't the same capacity and size as its actual sky as we see it.
Mm,
You get there, you're like, oh, Jupiter is probably smaller than I thought, because the whole damn thing is just a big spheric gas around it. And I think that's what Earth is too. But I feel like Earth is a lot bigger than we're told. I do believe in. I have a belief in a theory, but but fact always kicks belief out the way. I do. I do like the theory that Earth has other spheric domes or
layers.
and we have like firmaments, because even in a Sitchin story, when he's talking about Alexander and talking to Ezekiel and Enoch and Moses, he's like, hey, how come I don't want to die early? I want to live longer. I'm looking for this fountain, man. I'm looking for the fountain of youth.
Ponce de Leon.
Telling him, hey, bro, we live in the storehouse of God. Like we live forever, like just in another dimension. But uh, Ezekiel tells him like, but you know what? I was taken by these angels I thought was going to kill me. They took me up high. They took me through an icy firmament. They took me to the fiery firmament. These are layers of earth. These are layers of sky. I mean, these are roofs.
Mm-hmm. As above, so below.
You have to break through them in order to see something next. So it's like, but what's in the between that? Probably some land. Probably if it's a higher frequency, or if it's like a hotter situation where they can survive there, they must be more intense. And they come here, we're gonna think they aliens. We're gonna think they giants. We're gonna think they superhumans. They just come from maybe an area of Earth with more mass, or not.
Yeah.
They can be little things, but either that. But I do believe that there's more Earth, and we are amongst like different pods of living. Like going through the ocean is probably access to them. As you can go through the ocean and end up go through a cave and end up inside the ocean still, but in a cave where you can breathe. And it doesn't mean that you're in a whole other world, but yeah, you're in the ocean, but you're
But
breathing.
you are, but you are, you live down there and like you don't see anybody else forever. You'd be like, this is my entire existence.
Hmm. And you can breathe down there. It's life. Like our air is a form of ocean. We're in the ocean, so we're not too separate from that. So it's like, how come we'll make it so weird that you can go through all the way down to the ocean and see something, and you're like, oh, this is a cave, and it takes me to another land, which there's more opening to more land, and more ocean. But it doesn't seem impossible to me. That's like if you say that, oh, that's impossible. That's kind of like saying that star systems and other planets don't exist. and we only have one sun, and our sun is the only sun that exists. You're just like, no, it has to be more, and it's okay that there's more. I think that there is a space exploration, but I feel like we not to say that we would hit a firmament or a roof, but going up, you're going to just enter into a lot of blackness for a long, long time without seeing nothing for years and years to come, unless you're moving at warp speed. But if you want to see other things, I think you can see them around our Earth, on our Earth, like another chunk of land. Maybe Atlantis exists somewhere. Maybe Mars and Jupiter have a chunk of land that these places are named after planets around us. Like, you know, and these are theories that I don't think they're so impossible, but I feel like those helmets could be like, we are going to a different frequency that we can't breathe there. We can't breathe. We can't, I think they're wise enough to know that we need headgear. Because have you ever heard of a Shungara helmet?
No.
Shungara helmet was worn by, you would say, a woman or a female in the Elohim to fly. It was a head garment that allowed one to fly. And Zachariah Sitchin brought it up in one of his books. I think it was like the 12th Planet book. And he just talks about like the Shungara helmet. It's like, well, why would they need specifically a helmet and to allow them to take flight, But I think I do believe that there's something about about the helmets here and why space astronauts and even ancient aliens or ancient astronauts drawn on walls are depicted with some type of helmet, or headgear or a protective.
Is it Shingara?
I think it's Shungar. I think it's Sugar. I think it's just SHUGARA. Shugara.
I was just trying to. Oh, that's a pretty cool helmet. Yeah, helmets are an interesting thing. There's this. I got this research that Dan and I have been working on for a while, just talking about the conception that crowns and scepters and these different types of technologies from the Renaissance period and beyond, because all the crowns and scepters were actually just from an earlier time, and especially in Egypt, but that they held specific types of qualities that could be used and manipulated with energy. So like conscious energy, for example, like just the idea of being able to wear a helmet and fly. Well, what if your consciousness is what's flying, your imagination, you're able to move through a different timeline within your consciousness, just like when you're dreaming and you're able to be lucid dreaming and move through real solutions. Because if you have a problem in your life, you need to solve it. You need to do something about it. Okay. But if you have a problem, what do you need? You can solve it, not just physically, but you need to mentally solve it so you can go into your dream world and actually be very productive through your consciousness and your creative realm. And so, I find zero reason why not, that these crowns, these helmets, these different type of antiquated tools, technologies made with gold and jewels and conductive materials that make our phones talk to everybody from hundreds and thousands of miles away. It's connected to that.
And that little chunk of crystal that's in each of our phones that it reminds us that we need that as a connection and energy piece, because we have crystal in us. We're crystals, and like you said, just a crazy way to connect with people. We're just like, look at our phones and what they're doing.
To wrap it back to what we talked about in the very beginning a little bit.
Because when you had mentioned just now gold, that just reminded me, like right after that dream. So you ever had those dreams where you wake up and you're like, "Whew, that was a crazy dream."
Yes.
You're just like, "Oh, I'm still in a dream," and then you have to wake up again. You ever had to wake up twice?
Once, only once, during what it wasn't like a good. It was like a
wasn't a full night's sleep. I woke up in like the middle of the night. You know, yeah, I've had a lot of fucked up and awesome, amazing, crazy, vivid dreams, as we all have. Anyways, please continue.
So it's one of those cases where I'm like, okay, I'm sure I was awake because I'm like, got up and I'm just like, oh, here's the Wednesday or whatever day it was. I'm just like, I worked at a school at the time, and I just had that dream. I was just like, that was pretty cool. Like all them helmets, and I can't remember the music, but I'm just like, wow. If, in my head, like if Black Hawk was around, I definitely had to ask him about them helmets. And I wake up and I feel like there's somebody near my bed, and I could like feel it because I'm like, I had a little full size bed. It was so small at the time, and I'm like, why is somebody sitting at the edge of my, like I could just. And I'm like, how come I didn't notice this? It has to be a dream. But I look up and there's this person. It's like a dude. He's wearing like a black, cool ass leather jacket, like a motorcycle jacket, because it's kind of like on him.
It's Prince.
It. And he's like wearing, I don't know what kind of pants or shoes, but he had this golden, shiny, blinged out space helmet. And the coolest version of a Daft Punk situation ever. I'm like, this guy's cooler than Daft Punk. And he slowly he's like not looking at me. He's kind of like this. And he slowly turns around. And right before I could just see the front of the helmet, I wake up. I'm just like, that was a dream. I'm like, that didn't seem like, and it was so crazy. But it was like the continuation to that helmet, which was like I had a white Stormtrooper helmet, and that made me paint it gold because I'm like, I'm gonna paint this gold because that was so crazy. It was so real that I felt the person's like the heat of their energy and right here in my room. And who knows? Like I swear up and down, like that was probably a time manipulator and was probably in my room, like wanting to say something and just like trick you. Like I can travel and you can't yet, but but it was so inspiring actually. So yeah, even bringing this up, I remember that dream and that moment.
What's some other importance to gold in Egypt? And did you hear? Do you got any insight on that? Because gold is, like alchemy itself is said to have been rooted in Egypt. Like that's where the transmutation really started, and those ancient manuscripts go all the way back to Egypt. And so it's like, okay, we're transmuting stuff and we're making gold, like not just finding it and mining it, but creating gold. And so what's your take on that?
Well, I like just even separately from reading like about like the Annunaki elders needing gold for their home planet. I always associate it with a dream, but in this dream I was like taken to a place I thought was like, I've never been to Las Vegas in real life or anything like that. So in this dream, it seemed kind of like I'm like, this must be what like a Las Vegas looked like because it was everything was very luxurious looking. It was like a city, kind of like a Dubai. But in this city that I was taken to, and it had some kind of like old raspy voice telling me about the city of gold. And I was taken there and it was like buildings were like black gold. The roads were of like they weren't gold either, but they were just like clean. I don't know how to even, they weren't like metal or something like that, but
cleanliness is godliness.
Everything looked like I wasn't even able to just like land or touch there. So I was just like shown there because I don't think I had access to go there yet, but it was like, and from there I was like, whoa, like gold has a significance, like it has to. And like you hear about those golden cakes that the Egyptians were eating, the white cake, you know what I'm talking about? And that helped. That was kind of like I can't compare it to an ayahuasca ceremony.
Atomic gold.
Yeah,
Yep.
And people they would also mention like don't steal from the grave because people would place them into tombs, the cakes, and people would try to break in and steal the cakes because they knew that like you can ascend with those, you can really go to a whole higher human with those with that cake. So I thought about like you can eat gold and it changes your DNA. Like Trevor was telling me like Sabaya, Apal Sabaya, Sabaya.
Oh yeah.
I mean, to me, what I understand of it is the brain is all electricity, and gold is a electrical conductor, and you get some gold into your bloodstream, and your brain might start to work a little different.
Dude, when I was living out in Hawaii, it's called the Kona Gold Coast for a reason. There's massive amounts of monatomic gold all around the island chains. It's there's a massive alchemical creation that happens from the waters there, and there's a lot of amazing minerals, and monatomic gold is one of them. And so when you go out to Big Island and you're swimming in Pele's waters that are incredibly warm and incredibly inviting, and you feel such a luxurious joy upon you that your entire being and spirit starts to vibrate and hum and sing, that you get that island vibe really pumping in your blood, and you're just really resonating out, tuning with the Schumann frequencies. That is the motherfucking minerals and the gold. That is the true heartbeat and the spirit of the planet, to be fully optimized and mineralized at one time in a moment, and just it'll change you. It'll, like you're saying, Jonny, getting genetically connected to re-untwine that kundalini spirit of your DNA and fucking be everything that is supposed to be the conscious beings that we are, in the light and the spirit and the love and the goodness.
Yo, that's real. That's real. Like, I'll never forget my first time hearing like reach your highest potential. Now you see it in like every other meme, like spiritual meme, like
Yeah.
full potential and meditate. But I remember seeing this in like 2011, and it wasn't like a meme or anything. It was actually a Buddhist. I think they practice like Soka Gaikai Buddhism, and they're like really close to like Herbie Hancock, and they're talking to me about like reaching your highest potential. And I have never heard those phrases together. Like, and another pal would tell me about unimaginable upgrades, and how that can just exceed any expectation that you really have for yourself or for life or anything around you, is allowing expectation to be exceeded by not having any. And you're just so connected to things because you have a standard. Like I can have a standard for the day. Like I hope my day is as I plan to do, productive, whatever I got to do. But I don't have an expectation like I need to be the happiest person by the end of the day or whatever. Sometimes it is what it is. Or I don't have expectation for people because unfair to make them meet something that is not discussed in the plans of life, But it's like we have standards. Like you can have friend standards, you can have standards of friends, you can have standards of food. This restaurant isn't the expectation, and it definitely didn't meet the standards I have, But just having those kind of set me way more free to actually getting closer to reaching like a high potential. And so a lot of times people say, like, not to say how are you so creative, but like how am I wanting to get into so many things besides like music, painting, fashion, teaching, and anything else I want to do. It's because I know that I got room in me. I know it's in there somewhere. The biggest treasure you can dig for is in yourself. I keep going. Like it's in there somewhere, bro. Like, and once you tap that energy, you're like, oh, that's right. I don't stop. And I do, until everything I do is fucking great.
Yes.
Really
That was solid, dude. It reminded me of that phrase vitriol. Again, I brought it up last week too when I was talking to Raven again. And have you guys heard that before? Vitriol?
No.
I'm gonna look it up again. It's an acronym.
The first thing that comes to head is vril, but I know vril is definitely not vitriol. So
it's a abbreviation of a Latin formula: visita interiora terrae rectificando and venis octulum lapidum, meaning visit the interior of the earth, and by rectifying what you find there, you will discover the hidden stone.
Oh, that's an alchemical term.
Yeah. So what you said is like, finding what you have inside is the true gold, right? So finding what you have inside is the true philosopher's stone. Basically seeking yourself inside, purifying yourself to go within, and then finding that's true wisdom and knowledge right there.
When I think about the power is already within me, something great happens. I'll just do something great.
Yeah.
You already, it's already in you.
That's the problem with this whole like ego thing. Everyone, it's a balance. And I think we all know that it's all about balance, right? That's what you can say that for everything. Well, it's about balance, right? You're having this issue. You're like, I know it's about balance. Everybody says balance, but it really is. And because ego is they want to call it ego, but when you pump yourself up, when you say that you do have the gold inside of you and that you are fantastic and that you are great and that I am really creative and that I do have that extra energy to do that thing that I need because I have that, because I'm able to have that, and we are able to have it because you have it, and because you have it, I also have it, and then we all have it, and then we're all pumping each other up, that pumping yourself up. I mean, then we're just living in a golden fucking society, constantly just pumping everybody up, dude. Like, yes, boys, let's fucking go. Like, abso-fucking-fruitly. That's a type of reality I'm trying to unveil on the daily.
I think that type of ego is like the materialistic ego that's holding on to possessions, and they want you to let go of that ego, that materialistic ego, so you can get to your higher consciousness self, because that's the self that tells you that you're the powerful one, and then you can do what you need to do. The power's within you, so it's that ego that needs to get separated from this material world.
I agree, and you're familiar with the Emerald tablets of Thoth?
Yeah, we
He
talk
talks
about that
going,
often.
He calls it the halls of Amente, which is like these extremely dark inner caves of the earth, like the darkest, like miles and miles and miles until you actually reach what you would call like paradise or like in like a new earth, so. But to me, maybe it's a real thing that you can walk through. But I feel like that's like you taking the challenge and the risk of like facing yourself like your darkest. You have to work and navigate through your darkest, and these are situations where nobody has a light for you. Nobody can guide you through this one. You gotta go. You can't be like, I'm afraid of the dark. And it's just like you have to keep even inching through it. Like you can't see the floor, it's so dark. You can't even see your hands in front of your face. That's how the pitch blackness he described. But it's like that's the journey you have to take within, because it's dark, and it's until you start seeing some form of light, you just gotta keep on going forward. It's scared as shit, but you gotta keep going, because that's not like what here that we can even partake from hasn't gone through some type of darkness, from a seed to childhood birth. We've gone through some kind of form of darkness to get here. And if a fucking apple can do it, I'm sure you can too, or a butterfly, anything like that. And so it's just like, but it sounds scary. And as a human, we have our thoughts that can actually alter the journey and make it way worse or better. But man, that's like real. Like you just gotta keep going. And like the ego, it's gonna peel off. It's gonna get tired of trying to keep up with you. So you keep going.
The other day you were asking me like how I, do my thing, and I'm just like, I've just done it forever. Just keep going,
Yeah, I was like, Trevor has been through like just knowing Trevor's music, like it's not everybody would be able to stick it out through going through all these different bands and them just breaking up because of ego. A lot of times, like let us not be deflated from the classic frontman ego situation. Even my small time on tour management was I witnessed 2 different singers of bands break up because of the fucking singers' problems. It was hilarious.
Came on my first tour,
dude. We were 18 years old.
18, I think.
19?
You're 19, yeah.
Yeah, we were babies, and it was amazing. We were in an Astro van too. 5 guys in an Astro van. Imagine that.
Out of this world.
Oh man, I was just since we're talking about tour and road and stuff, yes, go ahead.
Before we get into that, I had another Egypt question that I wanted to ask Jonny, and then we can get into that because we're coming to a 2-hour mark. So, Jonny, you're talking about how he's from the Stargazer. Was it your father or your ancestors were from the Stargazer clan or tribe in Alexandria? And they watch stars? Do you think because of your knowledge of Sumeria and everything, do you think like that's what the Watchers were? Those were just the people that watched the stars and were able to tell by the motion of the planets what was going to happen, and they could relay that to the kings and whatnot, the pharaohs.
You know what? Yeah, I feel like that's what it is, because when you have like something that was like, I don't know, for example, when my dad was probably like growing up, he's about 14. There's no video games. There's nothing much to do besides either prepare to work in a factory like your dad or something like that, or be a musician. You're not even an athlete was like a big thing to try to be as younger. So I feel like, and maybe in those times, like astrology and just like and knowing the coordinates and information about like why we're looking into the stars and this access to information. I think that was like very hip and and a lot of those who understood it took it really serious, like a musician would. They're a band of people who really enjoyed studying this information about the stars and tripping out like, hey, look, this time last week is different. Look at the position of that same thing it was looking at this time. Isn't it different? They're just going back and forth, and while you're doing that, you're who knows what they're seeing and what they're being conveyed to build and to and to live better. But I do feel like they come from that, especially with my my uncle Johnny, my dad's oldest brother that passed. He was considered advanced in technology in his time. He was probably one of the oldest people at his age who were just like, who knew FL, Fruity Loops. These are music programs like Fruity Loops, Pro Tools, Ableton. He knew them all. He knew how to use Photoshop. He was just like, he was like 70, but he was just like schooling people. Like, here's how you do this. This is pretty easy to me. And he was telling me, he goes, I don't know how I know how to do this. He goes, information and music comes to me in my sleep. He goes, it's like music's blasting out of my pillow. and information is too, and that's probably one of the last things I talked to him about. But I do feel like they were watchers. They were getting the mathematics of music, whatever they were doing. Because my dad's cousin is also a Pharoah Sanders too, so we have like a long line of these like jazz musicians and these studious keyboard players. And I had an uncle, a cousin, Tracy, who was like, they say he was like the most intricate drummer, just very, his rhythm and everything was just so crazy. And people would just say, well, he's a Sanders. That's what they do. And I always took that as like, since high school, I guess, as being like a Super Saiyan. It's like, you're a Saiyan. Don't you know who you are? Your family can do some cool things if you get your shit together.
You think they're able, like the frequency got passed down, like through being able to watch the stars, like into them, and that's why they're also good at these musical talents?
I think so. It's like so much when you put so much dexterity into like your craft and what you really like. Like from what I'm able to see is like some of my gifts that I don't really tell the world so much, because I never in a situation, even now, it's like, okay, I can tell you guys like at least what I practice with my eyes. like I mentioned, like defocalizing and seeing versus.
Yeah.
Because the moment you wake up, you're looking at your clock, you're looking at your phone, you're looking around for clothes, whatever you're doing, you're looking. The only time your eyes get to fully rest is when you sleep, but your eyes are resting while you're awake, and you're letting yourself see the formation around you. See the formation in the clouds, you see the formation in sky, trees, grass, people. You can see aura around people so thick. So I can see people aura around their head. I like seeing the little energies around them and being like, that's interesting. This one is actually a color I can see, or this one is like a weird blotchy thing around them. Anyway, stay back.
Yeah.
Also, just
can you see that through technology too, or just in?
Yeah, I haven't really practiced with technology. Sometimes I look at pictures and I try to look at old pictures of me or my mom or something like that and see if I see anything around me. And I just really haven't practiced that so much. But I also I practice literally stargazing. But I'm looking past certain layers. Like I can see, like, you can see the depth between like where the moon is, and you can see that that star is obviously further, and you can see stars are further than them. But my thing is, once you get a lock on a star, you start to see the stars around them. You start to look closer, and you start to see, you kind of let yourself zoom in, and each time you zoom in, you try to focus that sight. And I can get so far until I can't focus anymore. But like looking around Pleiades and you see certain things, you're like, wow, I see that. And sometimes I'm able to call, I can say most of the time, on a cloudy night, like I can hope for, I'm not to say I just sit there and wish a star would break through the clouds, but I'm sitting there staring, like I know, like you can see there's a star right there. And sure enough, here's the clouds passing by just for that brief second. And it's like bling. You was right. I'm right here as a big old star. So and pulling in, like not pulling from stars, but saying, what are you? Where are you? What's going on there? Are you guys peaceful over there? Do you guys got a bunch of planets? Are they cool? What's the best planet where you are? Like what is it like where you are? And sure enough, like my dream is going to take me to somewhere the next night or two. I've invited myself into some weird realm, and sometimes I'm like, I shouldn't have even talked to that star. But what an experience!
That's awesome, man.
Man, that I'm going to share my screen here because this kind of ties into, like, this kind of stuff is when we talk, say, deeply occult. Okay, well, the true, like, and here's your vitriol, Dan, where I was like, I knew what he's talking about. I was looking this up the other day because we're doing our mirror series, and the Freemasons have this thing for their initiatory process.
Clock at the top,
right? The monad here, the monad, the morning rooster, the bird, the symbolization of the rising sun, the light bearer, right? All that stuff. But the chamber of reflection, also called the room of reflection or the reflection cabinet, the meditation cabinet, is in Freemasonry the name given to the place where part of the initiation process takes place. It is used as a test of isolation during which the recipient is invited to perform some introspection. This is facilitated in the presence of symbolic objects and evocative sentences, which may differ slightly depending on the rites. The phase of isolation generally begins the initiation ritual that a layman experiences on when he enters the Masonic course. And then I wanted to go over to the Tomb of Illumination, which is the famous Rosicrucian tomb of Christian Rosicruits. And it's like, this is the Tomb of Illumination. Look at that. This is how elaborate the Rosicrucianism tomb is. And these people pull off of Egyptian mysteries and Eastern mysticism. All Western esotericism, in my opinion, is pulled, and it comes from Egypt, And the point I'm getting at is we're talking about communicating with the stars. That's what they do. It's majorly occult.
There's nothing more occult than astrology, and than just communicating with the ether.
Yeah. So this is Lakota chief, and he's just on YouTube. And he tells like campfire stories, like of like old Lakota time, and he told one about the Seven Sisters and the Star Boy. And this one, he's like, long story short, he's like, these two girls were like in this field, and they're just like picking vegetables for their family, and they see these stars out. It's kind of like sunset, early, probably some early stars or something like that. They're like, one girl was like, "Oh, that's a beautiful star." She goes, "I would marry that star." And then the other girl says, "I would marry that one right there." And they said moments later, these two tall gentlemen out of nowhere came and said, "We heard you. We heard you say you're going to marry us. And so we would like to take you to our home. And you
Wow.
can live." And one girl said, "No, I'm not going to go." But one of them went. And she's like, "You know what? I'll go. I'll marry you. I'll go there." And so he goes, "Okay, only one condition. You can never go back home. You can never come back down, because once you come up here, you cannot tell anybody anything that you saw, because it's not for them. And so she's like, "Okay, fine. But she's up there, and they have these things that kind of like turnips called timsala. And so he's like, "You can pick anything, eat anything up here. You can have whatever you want. Just do not eat the timsala. Do not pick the timsala, because."
Uh-oh.
Say why, but she was like, "You know what? I'm gonna just try one," because if she got tempted, I don't know. She just tried one.
She's
And
a
she
human.
picked one, and she saw that below she can see Earth. And she's like, from here she can like, I can pretty much see where I'm from. And she started getting homesick and really missing her family. So she's like, "I'm gonna pick some more, and I can see Earth a lot more." And she ends up falling down to the Earth. But as she falls down, they said that she was pregnant, and with the being's star baby, and so she gave birth to this like boy who actually had super strength. He had a lot of abilities, and he actually helped protect the reservation and the tribe for a long time, and fought off gigantic birds and that tried to eat babies and stuff like that for a long time. But that was just their story of like the Star Boy and how the Star Boy came about. And I always thought like, see, like that's such an old story, and it's not like a, "Hey guys, do you believe it or not?" This is just like, this is off the walls. This is a story that we believe, and we're just telling you. So I always think that's real cool. Like
Yeah.
mentioning like that, yeah, that ability just.
Yeah, that's a cool story. Never heard that one before. That one's awesome.
That's Lakota?
Lakota, yep.
Wow. I just finally got I got so many books that I'm so behind on my reading, dude. There's like so many, but I love the indigenous stories. I just got a First Nations book the other day, and it's just a fascinating depth of just so much creative depth. And it's different because it's not the stories that you've heard, but all the theologies really are. I mean, it's just, I'm pretty easy to get mind blown. Honestly, you can blow my mind pretty easy. I'm like, oh, whoa, on just about everything. But that is a really cool story. And it correlates, man, like the 7 sisters and the 1 star brother. That's planetary, that's septenary, that goes all the way back, to correlating to these planets.
And the wild thing is too is like Pleiades is supposed to be 7 sisters. Even the Big Dipper is 7 sisters, they say, because it's like 7 guides. It's a guidance constellation. So when you see the Big Dipper, that's when you say, "I need guidance. I need to know." Typically, they say that's where you find home. But that's also like guidance, right? And so like really it's just like how you talk to them about what you what you are going through, and what just let them know sometimes you don't know what to do. So that's when you get stuck, and you just say, "Hey, humility will allow you to ask the 7 the seven sisters or the seven mothers, you know. And I always think that that's really cool because the handle on the star, the handle on the Big Dipper was the first day star I've ever seen. Like this is like 3:30 p.m. in the summertime, and I'm in the backyard with my friend. I'm telling her, I'm like, I see like there's something in the air that's like either it's a plane that's just sitting there, whatever. It's blinging, but it's so small, you know, you can see it. And she's like, I don't know. She's like, I think it's a plane or it could be something else. I'm like, I don't know. But I watched it. I watched it until maybe 6 or 7 or so. And you start to see it more and more. And like, I use the star app and I'm like, the whole time it was actually, it's a star. I knew it. It's a star. And ended up seeing it in the daytime about 7 years later, you know, in the same, not in the same kind of situation, but in the summertime, I'm like, this is like 1 p.m. and this is the star I see, and it's the handle to the Big Dipper. And like, and I think it's moments where I am asking for guidance, or I am like maybe needing a little guidance, and maybe it's just a reminder. It's just like, okay, you need to either talk to the star or something like that. But I always have like a cool connection with that, just because seeing them in the daytime, it's like rare. Like, when do you see a day star? I mean, I don't even know that's what they're called, but I call it just day star.
The Big Dipper is in the constellation of Ursa Major, and Orion's belt is part of the Big Dipper, right?
Oh, I think you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
The Cygnus Key, baby. Yo, so
Cygnus.
On your website, it says strong ties to Jupiter. What does it mean by that, Jonny?
Well, yeah.
Question.
So Jupiter actually, it's been coming to me since like I wouldn't say 9th grade, maybe like my freshman year, and I was I thought I like pretty much eliminated space out of my mind because I'm new to high school. I'm with my friends, and some of them want to be gangsters, and some of them want to be hoopers, and I'm just like, you know, I'm just in between. Like, hey, I'm just whatever. I'm not reading any books on space or anything like that, but I was continuously having dreams about being challenged, and when I'm challenged in my dreams, they're taunting me, saying, "Oh, son of Jupiter, what are you gonna do, son of Jupiter? Oh, if you're the son of Jupiter, what are you gonna do about it? Then do something." And I'm and I'm like always being challenged, and so like ever since high school, I was just kind of like write down Jupiter, like, oh, I had another Jupiter dream, but this one was kind of like reminding me of like Mortal Kombat, and then the guys around me had all these special powers, and I just didn't know if I was supposed to fight them or something like that. But they would just still call me son of Jupiter, or they would say, "Hey, yeah, you're like, you know, your dad is a real powerful guy, you know." And I just never made the connection. And it wasn't until I started to have those dreams as an adult. I had this. I'm not religious, but somehow I had this dream of like I'm in a car with my mom, and my mom has already passed away by the time. So I'm in the dream. I'm in the car with my mom. So it's this dream like she's alive driving me, and we're driving along this water, and in the sky, this huge face emerges from the clouds, and its eyes turn into stars. The stars are the eyes, and it's just this big face with a beard. And he's like, Jonathan. He says my full paycheck name. He goes, Jonathan. He goes, my name is Archangel Michael, and I have a proposition for you. Call me. He said something like, call me or contact me, because son of Jupiter is like I hope you hear me, you know. And I'm like, why? It was another one, you know. And so I ended up meeting my friend Megan. She's my business partner, and her mom does this energy work. She owns a couple crystal shops here in Portland, one like Celestial Awakenings, and she goes on these like spiritual trips around the world. But pretty much when I met her, the first thing she asked me was like, "Hey, are you somehow connected to Jupiter?" She goes, "I'm seeing this right now." She goes, "You have a really heavy," and I'm like,
out.
never had anything else besides Dream World and her. Like my mentor that I had, Blackhawk, the native elder, he shared with me that we knew each other from a past life, but he knew me from this place called Lemuria, where he was a chief, and he would also draw the Jupiter symbol on his like bill when he's like buying like a whiskey sour, and then like he would just always have his signature and then the Jupiter symbol and like the alchemy symbol of Jupiter. You know, it looks like a kind of like a 24. But that was the only kind of connection. Was like, well, Blackhawk said he was like my dad, and he'd always like write down Jupiter. When I think about my dad in real life, I think about sometimes he I don't know how he reminds me of Jupiter, but Jupiter has this like dad energy with me. It's always related to like dad now, even I guess since freshman year, really. And I really didn't hang out with my dad, so I always just kind of connected it. And like Thursdays are my like lucky day for some reason, and it's always like that. Like even one summer, my mom and my eyes turned blue. My eyes turned blue just for maybe like a month, and my mom's eyes kind of stayed blue. And at the time, people were like, "Oh yeah, you look like a like Thor, or Zeus, or like a little baby Jupiter, or something like that." And what was in my mind at the time, I was just like, "This is weird," because my eyes are like really sensitive right now, but they just turned like a real dark blue. But yeah, that kind of ties to Jupiter I have, and when I think of the name, even like Earth, Wind, and Fire has a song called Jupiter. About meeting this mysterious man that came from the stars and said his name was Jupiter and gave him all these prophecies. I think that really happened to one of them because of the way that they told the story. It's kind of like, it's not like yeah, I'm looking at this planet and it's Jupiter. You know, they're like, a man came to them as Jupiter. And Sun Ra, we know that Sun Ra, the artist, he was talking to us as, he was Saturn in the flesh. He's Saturn. He was like, I'm Saturn. And if you're gonna go by like a Greek mythology kind of thing, we know like Saturn's like Jupiter's like dad, and
it's like the
recently
ancient,
actually
or Egypt or it was Zeus is Jupiter, if I'm not mistaken, in Greek mythos. So it's like the king of the gods, right?
Yep. And that is actually supposed to be and it's supposed to be Amun Ra. When you break it down, it's Amun Ra. So. And I was like, wow, like that's crazy. So it'd be like your dad is Amun Ra in a dream and in the dream world. And as now I have more, I know how to use it now. Like I'm not there as a scared kid who's like afraid of anybody like challenging me. So I'm like, I know, like I'm like I can use my dad's energy or I can not. But that's just when I'm in dream state, and it happens every once in a while as an adult still too. But I do like how Earth, Wind, and Fire sung the name Jupiter, because it wasn't like Jupiter. They said Jupiter, like ta from any. But they said Jupiter, you know, and I'm just like, wow, that's also pretty cool, because like ta was with a P before it. It was like the God of Oz, you know. He was like the first one, and I think about that's so interesting. So it still ties into Egypt, and that's why like you can't see my tattoos, but I have this like 5-point star, the pyramids of Giza, and the Atlantis symbol, and I have a Jupiter symbol.
That's super cool.
Jupiter is also Jehovah and Yahweh.
Nice. Wow. Yeah, the king of the gods, man. Like Jupiter's.
That's my dad. No, you know, it's crazy. My name is, you know, my real name is Jonathan. So like, a long time ago, my mom was churchy. So I remember when I heard this old lady one time was like, your name, like the name Jehovah is in your name because my name is Yahweh has given. It's like a Yahweh. Yeah. Yahweh has given. Jonathan, Jonathan. That's interesting. Thank you for that. That's an interesting information, connection. But yeah, that's wow. It. I in my prayers.
Yeah, it goes in.
Yahweh and Yah and Jehovah is always in my prayers, in my mind to move forward.
It goes into Yah Ptah or Yah Peter, which is Sky Father.
Dang.
And Jupiter, yeah, Jupiter, Jupiter, Ptah.
Well,
That's a big connection, dude. Absolutely. And your name starts with a J, inevitably. I don't know why or how they, that came to be, if it was like intuition from your parents at birth, or what the reason is that they why they did that. But it's significant that the letter J and the symbol of Jupiter it's kind of like a really dope, like funky 4, right? It looks like a number 4, but also it looks like a number 2. So I'm like I'm like seeing a 24, and I'm wondering, how was your 24th year of age? Was your 24th year? Do you remember? Was it significant at all? Oh yeah, yeah. Kind of looks like a 24, right? Sick.
Yeah.
Jupiter.
There's some significance to the 24 too. I forget all of it, but I know there's something there.
Yeah, how was your 24th year?
12 is a huge number for me. It's like a elder based number. It's like squared to me. I'm like, when I see 1212 on the clock or something like that, or like 1224, or even just thinking the number 24, I'm like, I know that we have 24 elders that protect our earth. 12 down here and 12 above and 12 below. As what my mentor Blackhawk would say, he told me that he was an elder. He goes, I'm one of the 12 elders that's down here. And he goes, and that's why I know so much about your little Egyptian ass. He would say, but then he'll be like, what? He goes, but we have high respect for the 12 elders above us. And that could be that they have passed away and that they're like just kind of in the energies to be, or that they may be around just in some kind of frequency or something like that. But he always mentioned that there was 12 and 12.
Yeah.
And I thought that was cool.
The biblical meaning of 24, according to the Bible, number 24 is a symbol of priesthood. It means that this number is closely connected with heaven. It is used as a symbol of duty and work of God, who is the only true priest.
That's pretty sick. Wow.
The number 24 is associated with the priesthood since it's composed of a multiple of 12. It takes on some of the 12's meanings, which is God's power and authority, as well as perfect foundation, except in higher form. 24, therefore, is also connected with the worship of God, especially at the temple.
4, 8, 12, like you got the 3 perfect versions of, 4 for the perfect triangle. And it's like, it's a super significant number. I mean, zodiac, just like basic astrology zodiac, you have the 12 astrological zodiacal symbols, and you have to have both. You have to have the light side and the dark side. So there's going to be the light side of Pisces and the dark side of Pisces, the shadow side of Aquarius and the light side of Aquarius, and the ebbs and flows of natural energy as it, the circadian rhythm flows through that. And so I love it when, like, that was such a cool, the 24 Watchers, that's an indigenous story, and it ties into these other stories, and everything is just connected. Why we just got to connect all the stories together and be like, they're all line up. We just got to, it's like a what's that called, the Jenga? No, Rubik's,
yeah. It's like you got to do it to like a Pangea. You got to like put the earth.
That's what we're doing, man, day by day. You should check out this chick. You should check out her books, dude, if you like Atlantis and Lemuria. We had her on the podcast. It's Sarah Breskman Cosme, and she's a hypnotist. And what she does is she takes clients hypnotist, sorry.
Sarah what?
Sarah Breskman, Breskman, Cosme, Cosme. And she has these books where her clients are in a
hypnotized state, and their like spirit is telling them the past lives that they lived. And she has all these ancient Atlantean stories and Lemurian stories. And I'm wondering if you read some of those or heard some of those, if you would resonate with any of those stories. That would be really kind of, I'd be really interested in that because, and she's also super sweet sounding. Unfortunately, when we had her on the podcast, my audio completely cut out. It was like a really great conversation, and next thing you know, all the audio got chopped up. But I figured that'd be a cool read if you're looking for a new read, or she has documentary, Dan, or the audiobook. Get the audiobook. You fuck with
the
audiobooks?
audiobook is
Oh yeah, that's
the audiobook is Atlantis. She doesn't have the Sphinx one on audiobook. And also, I was wrong about the constellations too. The Big Dipper is not part of Orion.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks.
At least we fact checked there, instead of getting blasted out for it later. So, you're welcome, audience.
I just wanted to make sure because I wasn't sure and I wanted to check.
Well, let's do some wrap up questions, Dan. What you got for the boys?
We've been talking to them about music in Egypt and everything, and I don't even know what kind of music they do, man. What kind of music do you guys play?
Well, Jonny here is a #1 R&B songwriter, as well as artist himself.
Yes, sir.
We're talking to you from my studio here, house in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
Producer and
I was gonna see. Yeah, I was just gonna see if Roman had any other questions, and then I was just hoping that we could hear a little sample or something, or have some sound vibrations on our ears.
Oh, let's do it.
If you let Trevor do the screen share, you can actually upload it and you can hear it crispy, I think, right?
Oh yeah. You just gotta let me do that for you real quick. Make sure.
Because I think that way you can just.
Yeah, man. Well, they're doing that, Roman. You can ask your final questions that you had.
Yes. I mean, I was gonna ask about like what some of the kind of more like things you've seen in the sky, because you're a stargazer, and I'm wondering what are some like moving lights you've seen in the sky, or something that really just kind of tripped you out in the sky.
So a couple of things that definitely I have no answers to. Like I'm like, what was that, or like how was that there? One of them I know what it was, but I'm not sure of how it happened. Actually, two things that happened really close by. So I lived in Gresham at the time, and my mentor just passed away maybe like 6 months ago or so. And I'm in the house and it's raining hard. It's raining like crazy. And I'm like, I was just about to go outside and smoke some weed. And I was just like, oh, okay, I'll just wait for it to stop. Because it's one of them showers where, okay, it's just raining for like 5 minutes up here in Portland. And that's what it does. And then, and I saw a bubble, a big bubble, an actual bubble floating through the rain, not being popped. And this is raining hard, man. It's like some Jurassic Park shit.
Damn.
And navigating, and this is daytime too, and it's navigating through the rain. And I'm just like, wow. And it comes near my window and it goes up above, and I just can't see it no more. But I'm like, how is that a real bubble maintaining and not, like, it should have just popped just because, but it was just like, I don't know. That was just weird.
Wow.
That was one thing. And another thing was just days later was a red balloon, not floating away, but like a simple kid red balloon with a string. Oh, you know what? I don't even know if it had a string, but it was just literally sitting in the sky. And for this time, actually, I had my nephew, because I didn't have a really cool phone, but I had him. I was like, look at that. Like, what is that red in the sky that's just like not going anywhere? And this balloon is just sitting straight. There's not even any fluttering of left. no wind. And he's like, my nephew's like 10 years younger than me. So he kept on telling me like, I think it's the military. I think it's like an army balloon. I was like, I don't know what an army balloon would do, but it definitely looks like it's doing something. Like it can't be made of rubber. It can't be impossible. But that was just kind of things I've seen. That's just kind of like out of my imagination. Like, why is that there? Like, whoa. But I have seen some formation. Like my mentor Blackhawk would take me up to the Portland City Grill because it was the highest, and he had a special view of like where he would go, and he would always get like a whiskey sour, but he'd be like, look over there, but like don't look over there, like see over there. And I'd be like, well, okay, I have been practicing, so I've seen this a formation of like it feels like a cloaked. It feels like it's cloaked, but really high above. Like there's some towards our mountains. There's some that sit near under our sun that are just like these big oblong. I don't know what they're even shaped
Energy cloaks.
Nope. They look like they could be ships. They actually look like they could be ships, but not UFO circled flying saucer shape. But these are like no direct like symmetry to them. So like one like a log or something like that. It's like like I don't know like something that's obviously built, but I don't know how to say misshapen, but it just looked like maybe like a chunk of land in the sky, that is cloaked, like you're underneath a big surface or something like
Islands
that.
in the sky.
And it's just like you can start to see like, wow, that's something. And before you know, like it will be like, oh, I don't know if it knows it is being looked at or something like that, but it's just like you're like, watch it go away. And some of those are the craziest things I've seen, and like even seeing them now and trying to do that stuff when I was in like New York, and like, you know what, maybe I'll see what's around the Trump Tower or something like that and just look into the sky. But a lot of times it's the same thing, and I really don't. I try to draw them, and you can like it's something where you can tell the person next to you, yeah, this is there. But if they're not defocalizing or getting their eyes to like let's just see that formation, you're not going to see it. It's just like right there. I see the outline of it. I really don't see the details of it. And a lot of things I see come to my direct dream world so quick, and then it's like it shows me what's kind of there or not. But those are kind of the craziest thing I've seen. And really I've seen, I call them star winks because they're a bit bigger than shooting stars, and they do like a loop, like I've seen those, and those are cool. I feel like when I'm in the right mind state and I'm feeling very ancient, there's times where I feel like I'm an ancient person. I'm letting myself tap in. Like, sometimes my little accent comes in, where all my words are like like I'm always like, and either if I'm eating too much mushrooms or edibles or whatever, if I'm tapped in, I can allow myself to like see I don't need to like defocalize so hard. I can just like really see, like I'm walking by like, that person's aura. That's crazy. Like, maybe I don't want to talk much, but I'm seeing so much around, and what the sky is doing, and shooting stars are quite common, but seeing I guess I saw like a light formation. In Portland, you ever been to the Bluff Hills?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the little bluffs. So the Skidmore Bluffs, and this is actually probably like 13 or 14 people who saw this, and we've seen these lights kind of change and come back and head towards the West Side Hills, head towards the sun, and we were like, it's impossible for it to be anything because it turned into 5 and it turned into 1 and it turned into...
That's recently?
No, this is probably like 2015 when I seen this.
Okay.
And then it just went to the hills, and I just remember like I just felt like, whoa, like we seen it ripped through whoever's wearing white in an all black party, just like real quick, and you're just like, wait.
It kind of reminds me of the shit I seen. So the craziest shit I seen in the sky was like deep in the mountains of Covelo, California, which is like it's a native town. Like they don't have any cops. Like they have tribal police that drive around in tribal police cars, and it's like it has one grocery store. Like it's in the mountains, right? It's pot growers and native folk, like straight up, and a bunch of Europeans that come over to work and do the whole cannabis scene situation and trim up buds. And so we're up there trimming up buds and it's like 2 a.m. Me and my buddy are looking up at the sky and we see this like one thing that looked like a shooting star and it go in this direction. I was like, oh cool. And then see another one just like kind of directly after it went the same direction. You start to see a third light go in the same direction. It's like, is this an asteroid shower? What is going on over here? Then we like look behind and we see 2 more going into the same exact direction, and then there was a big flash in the sky that was like a supersonic flash, and it was like there was 5 different shooting stars or ships or what have you that all went to this focal point, and then it exploded, and it was like what the fuck did we just see? It was almost like that, like what you were saying, they'll go into this area and then refract it out or something. Like, trip, dude. Like, there's shit going on.
So I can, if you
Play this song? Yeah, please.
listen to some music, yeah, I can play some tunage. I can share screen here, Johnny.
Well, you know what we should do? You guys should plug all your stuff where all of our audience can listen to you, find you, get connected with you, and then let's play. And then after you guys plug all your stuff, we'll play the song as the outro, and then I'll stop recording at the end of the song.
Okay.
So yeah, plug away. Let everybody know where, like, what they can do to get in touch with you and find your music and all that.
Yo, so Jonny Cool on all the major platforms. But that's Johnny with no H. Get the H out of there. Jonny Cool on all your music platforms. I got some new heat coming out, and social media wise, you can find me at Jonny Cool, Jupiter Black, and that's where to find me. Look out for Jonny Cool Music, the website, coming soon.
Sick. Trev, plug, bud.
Yo, TrevorScottMusic.com.
Boom. Okay, sweet. Yeah. I was bumping that new single all day today. It's super like retro, psychedelic, and also very chill and catchy. And so great job on that song, dude.
Sure, I appreciate it. Yeah, Trevor and Jake and even this guy Stephen came through and played the pads at the end, but we all came together on it. Like I came with the blueprint really, and I think before we even had I think before I had further lyrics, we just kind of went straight to the instrumental and made it sound great.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah, you picking out them tones and guitars and Trevor on the drums. We just kind of made it happen.
Beautiful. You got it, bud?
No, it's not letting me share the
sound.
But I can.
When you go and hit the share screen button, it should have a little box at the very bottom left corner that says share computer sound.
It's saying that I have to close out of the Zoom meeting if I'm able to do it, because I had to change some stuff in my system preferences to allow it to share the screen.
Oh, I see. Is it in Logic?
No, it's just I was just gonna play some music off of like Spotify or some of our files.
Oh, straight up. Interesting.
But I just sent you a Spotify link if you want to open that up.
Send it in the chat.
I forgot there was a chat.
Boom.
Boom.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I can edit out all the space too. Don't even worry about all that. Anything. Here we go. Pow. This apparently the last song I was listening to was Baby Boy Prince.
Warp speed, back through the night, holding you holding me tight. Warp speed, back through the night, the speed of love is the speed of light. Warp speed, back through the night, holding you holding me tight. Warp speed, back through the night, the speed of love is the speed of light. Teleport your heart to my right of way. Gotta move fast, we don't have time to waste. I thought true love would be so hard to find. Let's go, accelerate to the limit, you'll be in my arms on time. Warp speed, back through the night, holding you're holding me tight. Warp speed, back through the night, speed of love is the speed of light. Warp speed, back through the night, holding you're holding me tight. Warp speed, back through the night, the speed of love is the speed of light. Warp speed, warp speed, warp speed, warp speed, warp speed.
Well, if you can't get down with that, wake up.